the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, Ling Feng Summons. Hey boo boom, a giant hand of lightning condensed by lightning appeared in the sky and then attacked downwards at an extremely fast speed. It was the thunder strike of the electric shock monster. Before the move arrived, the elves below were all shocked by it, and the wind blew, and thunder descended. Boom boom boom, a huge mushroom cloud rose up, and the surging airwaves carried rolling sand, stones, and trees and spread everywhere. This movement also attracted the attention of the elves in the forest, and some weak elves ran away. The electric shock monster has improved. Looking at this scene in front of him, Zhang Xingyun nodded slightly and nodded. Under the focus of the electric shock monster's attack, the Flash King Swallow directly lost its combat ability and lay on the ground unconscious. There were also many other King Swallows that were affected, and they all fell to the ground. There were also some clever King Swallows who took advantage of the chaos to break through and escape far away. In short, after the battle between the electric shock monsters, this group of King Swallows has been destroyed, and it will not be able to recover to its former appearance in a short time. Then it was time to happily clean up the battlefield. He picked and got a lot of good things, all of which he put into his pocket. At a riverside in the forest, several Toad Kings were lying on one side, and there were traces of fighting on the ground. Zhang Xingyun and the electric shock monsters settled down here. In front of them, the giant gold monster was breaking through. The giant gold monster stood quietly on the ground, recalling the feeling of the power burst during the fierce battle just now, and the energy fluctuations on his body became more and more powerful. Dang me Dao, the giant gold monster suddenly opened his eyes, and a strong pressure of the king appeared on his body. It broke through successfully and entered the realm of the king. Hibu, the electric shock monsters came forward to congratulate it on its successful breakthrough to the realm of the king, and congratulated it. Midao, the giant gold monster, was very happy to accept the congratulations of the elves. Megalodon did well, and congratulations on your breakthrough to the Heavenly King, but you still need to work hard, and must not be proud and complacent. Zhang Xingyun stepped forward to encourage. Midao Metagross nodded heavily, as if to reassure him. Rest here for a while, and adjust your condition. It's still early now, and we'll go fight a few more battles later. Zhang Xingyun said softly, asking the elves to get ready, and then released Undertaking and other elves, took out energy cubes and other food, and distributed them to them. He also took out food and started eating. After resting for a while by the river, and getting enough rest, Metagross and Jenga's physical strength and injuries were almost recovered, so they set out again. Half an hour later, there was another boom 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 sound from somewhere in the forest. The fighting continued for a long time before it finally stopped. Well done, Metagross. Hiss, of course. Jenga, you're great too. Hiss. Hearing this, Jenga nodded with satisfaction and smiled triumphantly. After another round of picking and choosing, a lot of good things were obtained. Boom. After a while, another explosion sounded in another place. This was naturally Zhang Xingyun's masterpiece. After several battles, the performance of Metagross was very good, showing a fighting power beyond that of ordinary kings. Zhang Xingyun was very satisfied with this. In addition to Metagross, the performance of several lizard kings was also remarkable. After several coordinated operations, they all achieved good results. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun rode on Pidgeot and flew in the sky at a very fast speed. Before the night fell, he arrived at the suburbs of Changling City. At this time, people came and went in the suburbs. The people coming and going were more or less embarrassed, but most of them had smiles on their faces. Being able to return safely and deal with the gains of the day was also a gain. Pidgeot landed steadily on the ground. Zhang Xingyun turned over and jumped, stood on the ground, and took out the Pokeball. You have worked hard. Go back to the Pokeball and rest. Pidgeot turned into red light and entered the Pokeball. After putting away the Pokeball and putting it on his belt, he took out the car from the space, started the engine, and drove towards the city. Buzz buzz buzz. At this time, the mobile phone placed beside him rang. He picked it up and saw several missed calls on it. The name marked on it was Ling Feng. What did Uncle Ling call me about? Zhang Xingyun was a little confused, but he still answered the phone. Ling Feng's deep voice came from the phone. Hello Xingyun, why are you answering the phone now? I came to the world to experience today and couldn't receive the signal. Zhang Xingyun explained. Well, where are you now? If you can come to the Pokémon Center, I need your help with something. I'm back in Changling now, I'll go there now. Zhang Xingyun immediately agreed, turned the steering wheel, and drove towards the Pokémon. Soon, the car driven by Zhang Xingyun arrived in front of the gate of the Pokémon Center in Changning City. After putting away the car, Zhang Xingyun stepped in. After entering the gate of the Pokémon Center, Zhang Xingyun came to Ling Feng's office very skillfully. Click, the door made a crisp sound. Zhang Xingyun opened the door and walked in. Ling Feng in the office was still looking at the documents. Uncle Ling, I'm here. Well, sit down. Ling Feng put down the documents in his hand and sat down on the sofa in the reception. I asked you to come because there is something about the rocket team. I need your assistance. If you can do it well, it will be a credit. What is the task? Our people found a base of the rocket team. I reported it to the higher ups, and they decided to launch the operation tonight. Ling Feng said slowly. The base of the rocket team? In Changning City? Zhang Xingyun asked, looking at Ling Feng. No, it's in the Yangtze Forest. It is said that its scale is not small. In the Yangtze Forest. Zhang Xingyun was slightly surprised. Could this be the base where his eldest brother was? But he didn't show it, and continued to chat with Ling Feng, wanting to confirm whether it was what he thought. After some inquiries, Zhang Xingyun confirmed that it was that base, and the address was the same. You can go with us in the evening. This time, there is a champion leading the team, so the danger should not be high. You can also share the credit by participating in it, which will also help you in your future political career. Ling Feng said loudly, stating the purpose of asking him to come this time, and also meant to promote him. Besides, with his current strength, the combat power of the Peking can also influence the battle situation. In the evening? Why do you have something to do in the evening? Ling Feng asked back. No, it just feels a little sudden. It's not sudden. It's just that once you lose an opportunity, it will never come back. It would be bad if they reacted to it. Let's go together if you have nothing to do in the evening. Chapter 752, Participation and Meeting. At first, Zhang Xingyun wanted to refuse, but after thinking about it and considering many factors, he finally agreed to participate in this event. This time, the rocket team's base could not be saved. The key point was that his elder brother also left the base for a mission. With his elder brother away, he had nothing to worry about. Now that he was invited by Ling Feng, it would not be good not to go. He went to see if there was any room for maneuver. Then he followed Ling Feng to a large conference room where there were several familiar people, such as his former boss Lin Jianzhang and others. After Zhang Xingyun walked into the conference room, he nodded slightly as a gesture, and Lin Jianzhang and others also nodded slightly. The atmosphere in the conference room was a little tense, because the people present were all captains and deputy captains of the various search teams, and they were called here at this time, which must be a big deal. Ahem. Okay, everyone is here. Next I will tell you about why I called you here tonight. From now on, you are on a mission and you are not allowed to disclose secrets. Ling Feng sat in the center of the conference room, coughed, and said. Zhang Xingyun sat below Ling Feng. With his strength and past experience, no one said anything. After all, he was once a member of the Changning Investigator. In the conference room, everyone sat up straight, waiting for Ling Feng to speak. Our people found a rocket team base in Yangtze Forest. Since this matter is of great importance, I have reported it to the higher-ups. The higher-ups decided to launch the operation tonight and let us from Changning take charge of part of the matter. So your mission tonight is to carry out this mission. Ling Feng said loudly to everyone. Yes. Everyone in the conference room said in unison, with a sonorous and powerful tone. The rocket team has always been their biggest target and the most dangerous target. Let's discuss how to carry out the operation. Ling Feng said, and then asked the secretary beside him to distribute the information, one copy for each person. The areas that we from Changning need to be responsible for are the east and south. Ling Feng made the battle deployment, when to launch the attack, how to allocate the combatants, etc. Everyone was listening carefully. By the way, in order to complete this mission smoothly, I have specially invited Zhang Xingyun and Zhang Wanjin to come to the scene to help. Everyone welcomed them. Pa pa pa. As soon as he finished speaking, applause broke out from the audience, welcoming him. Zhang Xingyun stood up, smiling, feeling a bit like an inside ghost. Oh, I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's take it one step at a time. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. At the same time, he was also thinking about how to gain power and become a powerful boss in China. When he becomes a boss, will he be more confident to run things and create conditions for his elder brother to leave the rockets? Xingyun, this time I'll let you be in charge of a position. What do you think? Ling Feng's voice rang in his ears, interrupting his thoughts. Okay. Zhang Xingyun replied. Well, then the mission this time is that Xingyun and I will each be responsible for a position. Don't underestimate him. He was once a member of our Changning investigators and has certain combat experience. Needless to say, the combat power is not to mention. Let alone you. I may not be his opponent. Ling Feng said loudly, reminding the people below. He has experience and sufficient combat power, so let them accept the leadership. In the meeting room, Ling Feng talked for a while, explained many details, and then divided them into groups and asked them to set off. I'll leave it to you this time. Our Changning Xianhuang combat power is still too small, so they can only be a defensive force. It's okay, Uncle Ling, I'm free when I go back. Zhang Xingyun smiled and then set off with the temporary team members. In order to keep it secret, more than a dozen troops in Changning City were mobilized at the same time. Zhang Xingyun sat in an unremarkable car and drove out of the city with Lin Jianzhang. Hello, Captain. In the co-pilot seat, Zhang Xingyun smiled and said to Lin Jianzhang who was driving. Hey, now I'm going to say this. Lin Jianzhang said with a chuckle. Hu Ziming and two other newly transferred investigators were also sitting in the back seat. This time, Changning dispatched 2 kings, more than 10 Quasi kings, and nearly 100 elite investigators to carry out the operation together. This scale of force is more than half of Changning's force. Changning is just an ordinary city, and its defense force is not comparable to that of first-tier cities. For example, in the magic city of Yangcheng, the government has more than a dozen kings guarding the city, and there are also champions guarding the city, and every year it attracts countless young trainers to go there, forming a virtuous circle. Changning is also a medium-sized city in the South Vietnam province, with 3 kings guarding it. Some backward cities may have only 1, or even none. At this time, the 2 young investigators in the backseat did not know what the next task would be, but they knew Zhang Xingyun, and knew that the task he participated in would not be small. Zhang Ke and his team have done quite well, especially Zhang Ke, who is now the captain of the search team in Daewon City. Lin Jianzhang said during the chat. Zhang Ke, Liun, and He Yao are all members of the Changning 13th search team, and they have also been together for a period of time. Hearing about their current development, Zhang Xingyun nodded and said nothing. Among them, the one who has discovered the best now is himself. In the suburbs, Zhang Xingyun and Lin Jianzhang came to a corner to wait. Within 10 minutes, their team was all there. After counting the number of people, they set off and rushed to the interior of the forest. Among them, in addition to Zhang Xingyun, there are 7 Quasi Kings and 79 elite team members, who are responsible for the southern position. The other western and northern positions are under the charge of other search officers. Zhang Xingyun and his team quickly arrived at the designated location, hiding quietly. There were also elves attacking them on the way, but they were all solved instantly. Zhang Xingyun looked at some familiar scenes. He was training here a few days ago. Hide well and wait for orders. Zhang Xingyun's words rang in the ears of more than 80 people at the same time. Zhang Xingyun lurked on one side and sent out his mental power to detect, but he didn't find anything. Boom boom boom, a huge explosion sounded from a distance, illuminating the dark space, and shouts of killing rose to the sky. In the north, Zhang Xingyun felt a strong breath. Presumably the champion had taken action. Action! Zhang Xingyun shouted, and they immediately took action, releasing the elves and moving forward step by step. Some people took out equipment and cooperated in 2s and 3s. After a while, everyone came to more than 100 meters underground, revealing layers of special building materials, and a group of people stepped into the base. Chapter 753 Attack on the Cloud Star Forest Base. Ding dong ding dong ding dong woo woo woo. After everyone entered, the alarm device was also triggered, and red light flashed continuously in the base. Boom boom boom. Under the invasion of foreign enemies, the defense in the base was automatically activated, and some weapons were also revealed. Without anyone operating, they were fired at the group. Among them, there are some heavy weapons, which can play a significant role in this space. The surrounding building materials form special magnetic fields that interfere with the detection of mental power, but they can only interfere with the existence below the King of Heaven, but not Zhang Xingyun. With the assistance of Zhang Xingyun, the defense system in this area was paralyzed. Swish. Several rays of light broke through the air and shot towards the group. Boom boom. A team of rocket team arrived and fought fiercely with Zhang Xingyun and his group. It's the investigator. Brothers, come on. Kill. Hurry up and let the technicians go first. Call. Start the information destruction. We are exposed. Hurry. Kill. Charge. Boom boom. A fierce battle kicked off, and the sound of skills colliding and people shouting and killing filled the space. The rockets used the terrain to delay everyone and buy time for others. The same scene sounded at the same time in several other directions. Boom boom boom. Zhang Xingyun also took action, and the rockets who arrived soon killed and captured the people and pacified them. Among them, the strongest were only two Quasi Kings, who were captured after a fierce battle. Pack up, take them with you, and we'll continue to move forward. Yes. A group of people rushed in and soon met another group of people. Among this group, many people were wearing white coats, like researchers, and they ran over here under the escort of a team of trainers. Oh no, we have people here too. A member of the rockets shouted in the crowd. Damn it, are the people guarding here useless? They were defeated so quickly. Captain, then our retreat is gone. Damn it. Zhang Xingyun and others on the other side saw this scene and immediately launched an attack. The two sides fought fiercely in this small space. Blood splattered everywhere, and there were people lying on the ground with broken limbs. Bang bang bang. Me do hiss in the complicated environment. Zhang Xingyun only sent out Metagross and Jenga to play, but in this small space, they could also burst out a considerable effect. Damn it, there is a master on the opposite side. Among the members of Team Rocket, a leader-like person gritted his teeth and said, "What should we do, Captain? What should we do?" The member of Team Rocket, who was called the Captain, said with a fierce look in his eyes, looking at the researchers escorted by his own side behind him. "In that case, we should not leave them behind. Kill them, brothers. They may live, but we may not. In that case, let's fight to the death." He asked the Sandshrew beside him to take action. A faint light shone on the Sandshrew's claws, and it ran towards the researchers behind. "No please, spare us. We are just researchers, unarmed." Ah. Puff. Hot blood splashed out and sprinkled on several researchers nearby. The pungent smell and warm feeling came from the sense of smell and touch, and the crowd was full of screams. Hisajenga suddenly appeared, with scalded eyes and a treacherous smile on his face. AWW Danga hiss bang 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 hass, and the red shadow passed by, and rows of people and elves fell down. Not good. As soon as the captain spoke, their eyes immediately shrank, then lost their luster, and fell to the ground with a bang. Many other people who resisted seriously were also the targets of the giant mantis. Among the crowd, there were only some Quasi Kings, elites, and even ordinary level elves. In the hands of the giant mantis, they were naturally killed in seconds, without any surprise. Catch them. Yes. The search officer stepped forward and captured the remaining people. "Don't kill me. I'm a doctor who studied abroad. I'm very valuable. Don't kill me." Zhang Xingyun came to a middle-aged man with glasses and only heard these words. Not only him, but also many researchers were the same. After listening to a circle, Zhang Xingyun found that these people's academic qualifications were surprisingly high. Many of them were from famous schools, and they could be said to be talents. "Okay, you're fine now. Now you put on handcuffs and leg cuffs. Be honest, follow us, I guarantee you'll be fine." Zhang Xingyun said loudly. "I say it again, put on handcuffs and leg cuffs, follow us honestly, don't resist." Yes, yes, yes. The remaining, about 20 people, said timidly, and then they were handcuffed and leg cuffed, and guarded by several search officers. Let me go. Ugh. Be honest, why are you living a peaceful life, and joining Team Rocket? Bah. And Sheng? I was exploited by you vampire minions. Bah. A man spat out a mouthful of blood, and was pressed to the ground, his strong body twisting on the ground. Grandsons, give Grandpa a quick death. Grandpa doesn't need your pity and charity. Ha ha ha. Be honest. Woo 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 grandson, give me. Zhang Xingyun looked normal, watching this scene. Xingyun, these researchers can stay, these people will. Lin Jianzhang said, making a gesture. The meaning is also very clear. The researchers can stay because they are valuable, and the remaining members of Team Rocket are no longer worth staying. If they stay, they will have to be watched. Watch it first. Zhang Xingyun said lightly. Okay, just a few people will escort these people and retreat, and the rest of you will follow me. Yes. Boom boom, there were earth-shaking noises in other directions, but the noise from Zhang Xingyun's team was relatively small. The path in the base was winding, and they encountered several teams of Rocket Team members along the way, but they were easily suppressed, because none of them were masters. Zhang Xingyun and his team pushed forward all the way, and the resistance they encountered was quickly suppressed by the hands of the giant claw mantis. Why is the resistance so weak? Did the main forces go to other directions and our team took advantage of it? After another battle, Lin Jianzhang and his team had this thought in their minds. The enemies they encountered along the way were not too strong, and they were carrying weapons and escorting people, which did not look like the main force. Chapter 754, Elfman Plan. It shouldn't be. What shouldn't be? Zhang Xingyun looked at Lin Jianzhang and asked. I mean, the defense here can't be so small. The resistance we encountered along the way was pitifully small. Zhang Xingyun and his companions came to a data room in the base. I also think that it might be the problem of our attack route, or it might be something else. Well, such a large base can't have so little defense energy. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. They had participated in similar combat missions in the past, which also destroyed a Rocket Team base. That base was even smaller than this one, and was guarded by several kings. Could it be that he was taken away by the eldest brother? Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but think of this. Boom, a special door was blown open, and Zhang Xingyun and his companions rushed in, and came to a huge laboratory. In the laboratory, there were multiple glass devices, and various things were placed in the glass, including the bodies of elves, animals, and humans. Gilulu bubbles appeared in the green mucus in the glass device. Inside was the body of an elf. It was very weak, and it was hard to tell what kind of elf it was. It looked like it had been taken out of an elf egg. So many devices, even humans have them. This is too. Zhang Xingyun looked at this scene, and felt a little disgusted. Huh. With a thought, he looked at a corner. Come out, I see you. Hurry up. Zhang Xingyun looked at the corner of the laboratory, where the boxes were placed and shouted. Lin Jianzhang and the others immediately became alert and slowly moved forward. Don't kill me, I'll come out by myself. Slowly, 5 researchers in white coats walked out slowly, 4 men and 1 woman, led by an old researcher with a white beard. Who are you? What are you responsible for? You'd better help us now, and try to get a lighter sentence. Yes, my name is Gong Yan Kang. I was a professor at Xianmen University of Science and Technology. My research direction is biology. The other 4 people also told their origins one after another. These 5 people are all researchers in the field of biology. 3 of them are professors from neighboring countries. Some of them were invited by the Rocket Team, and some were forced to come here to study elves. They learned about the movement earlier and hid aside. Finally, they were discovered by Zhang Xingyun. As for the others, they didn't know. Crackle, there was a sound of broken glass, and the alarm in the laboratory kept ringing, flashing a dazzling red light. Roar, it was accompanied by a low roar of beasts. Hearing the sound, the faces of these researchers turned pale. Before Zhang Xingyun could ask again, the wall in front was suddenly blasted open, revealing a series of green or red eyes. One of the figures jumped out and ran towards them quickly. That figure looked like a human. but his limbs were not human hands and feet, but the limbs of an elf, and his mouth had fangs, stained with some blood and flesh, and his eyes were full of scarlet and madness. Then one figure after another ran from the blasted place. Attack! Zhang Xingyun ordered, and all the elves burst forward with colorful moves. What the hell is this? Zombies? Zhang Xingyun shouted at Gong Yan Kang next to him. Among the monsters, there were several people in white coats. This is the elf man project within the rocket team. The purpose is to allow ordinary humans to gain the power of elves and fight. So you breed these monsters? Zhang Xingyun grabbed the clothes on his chest and shouted. Not me, not me. These are Doctor Who's operations. I'm responsible for other aspects. Other aspects. Gong Yan Kang said hurriedly. They are all crazy. Let the elves launch long-range attacks. Don't get close. Zhang Xingyun said to Lin Jianzhang and others. Boom 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 in the dense firepower network composed of elves. Those experimental monsters were intercepted outside, and before they reached the crowd, they were blasted into several pieces. Hoo 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 hoo. After a while, those monsters were wiped out. Zhang Xingyun frowned and looked at the scene in front of him, without saying anything. The laboratory, which was as big as a football field, was now in a mess, with smoke all over the floor, and broken glass everywhere. Take them away, let's move on, and meet up with Uncle Ling and the others. Zhang Xingyun said calmly, and the group went deeper again. Soon, the group ran into a group of Team Rocket members, who were running towards them in a panic, and ran into them. A battle started immediately. After 10 minutes, some people were captured, and the rest of the people and the elves were dead. Be honest. The captured people all looked defiant. Interrogate them and see what you can get out of them. Okay. Several people with interrogation experience walked out of the team, selected a few people, and went to the side to ask questions. Soon, those people came back with the information obtained from the interrogation and a base map. After some comparison, they found the location of the group on the map. Old Yan, you are really good. You can actually get the map. Lin Jianzhang said to a middle-aged man with a thin figure and a pale face. Hey, that guy is delicate and tender, and you can tell at a glance that he has some status. It's always right to go after him. The man called Lao Yan laughed. Our area is the experimental area, and Chief Ling's position should be here. Zhang Xingyun and his friends held the map and discussed. Check all the laboratories along the way, and don't let anyone go. Come out, Crystal Steelix. With the map, everyone had a clear goal. Zhang Xingyun immediately released the Crystal Steelix, and moved forward according to the map. After trying more than 10 laboratories in a row, they were all as shown on the map, which also confirmed the authenticity of this map. Boom. Zhang Xingyun and his team blasted open the door and walked in, and saw a dazzling array of ability blocks. This is a laboratory for making energy blocks. Kill. The rocket team members hiding in the dark launched an attack, and after a fierce battle, they were all captured. A group of related researchers were also captured together. They were responsible for developing energy blocks. Zhang Xingyun was also an expert in energy blocks, so he walked to the machine and checked it out. In front of him, there was a pile of energy cubes, most of which were low level, a few were medium level, and the last batch was high level. The people behind him saw so many energy cubes, and their eyes became hot. How long would so many energy cubes last for their elves? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755, Taking Over Yangtzing Base. Energy cubes are important materials for cultivating elves. After reaching the elite level, if the elves want to make progress, they must feed them intermediate energy cubes. But intermediate energy cubes on the market are not easy to buy, and they are often out of stock. Now that so many energy cubes have been seized, they can also get a lot when they are awarded for their merits, so they are naturally very happy. On the field, Zhang Xingyun's eyes were not on those energy cubes. He came to a place where the machine collapsed, picked up an unformed energy cube, smelled it, and felt it. Zhang Xingyun found that the quality of this energy cube was higher than that of ordinary high-level energy cubes, but it was lower than the gem-level energy cubes he got. Are you developing gem level energy cubes here? Zhang Xingyun came to several researchers and asked. Yes, sir. We are only responsible for developing energy cubes and have not participated in other tasks. An old researcher came out and said tremblingly. Whether you have participated in other tasks, let's talk about it after confirmation. What progress have you made? Zhang Xingyun asked again. We can only study energy blocks that are 30% higher than the advanced energy blocks. And now, the machines that have been transported to the base have all been taken away by you. The old man pointed to the collapsed machine on the ground that was emitting black smoke. Submit all the information and data here. It's best to cooperate and try to get a lighter punishment. Zhang Xingyun said in a deep voice. Yes, yes, yes. Looking at the dozen or so huge machines in front of him, Zhang Xingyun had an idea in his mind. After a while, there was a movement outside. Zhang Xingyun and others hurriedly became alert. Boom! A group of people wearing search officer uniforms walked out of the blasted wall. Damn, someone climbed up first. One of them shouted. Okay, it's okay if it's not the rockets. At least my brothers won't be in danger of life. Another person comforted him. Haha, it's Big Mouth and the others. It's a pity that they came late. Zhang Xingyun's search officer recognized the other party. Old Lin, why are you here? A burly man walked out of the crowd opposite and shouted to Lin Jianzhang. Hey, we just arrived. Why are you so dusty? Oh, don't mention it. There are only so many battles. Isn't this normal? Hey, what's wrong with you? Hey, the resistance we encountered along the way was a bit weak, and we didn't encounter any opponents of the king level along the way. Lin Jianzhang said with a smile. Compared with the opposite side, they seemed to be strolling around, and there were only a few injured people. Damn, we fought to the death in the front, but you took advantage of us. Zhao cursed. The resistance they encountered was much greater. How is the battle situation on your side now? Zhang Xingyun walked out and asked. Zhao then talked about their experiences along the way. Unlike Zhang Xingyun and his group, they encountered very strong resistance, and they were attacked all the way. There was a master of the king level who sniped them, and Ling Feng took him down. Woo! As he spoke, a fire-breathing dragon flew over, carrying Ling Feng on its back, and there was another person under Ling Feng's feet. Oh, Xingyun, you're not slow. Fortunately, the resistance we encountered along the way was not strong. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. Well, put away some important things, and let's go to other areas for support. Okay. After the two sides met, they took away some important supplies and information, and went to support in the distance. Ling Feng also had a base map in his hand, and the group rushed to the distance with a purpose. The sound in the distance also tended to calm down. The original earth-shaking movement was gone, and the original fierce battle was coming to an end. When the group arrived, they saw ruins all over the ground, and many members of the rocket team were captured. This mission is easier than I thought. Ling Feng looked at the captured base, and frowned and said, this is a little different from what he imagined. Based on his intuition from many years of work, he always felt a little inexplicable, and this victory was not solid. Such a large base, unexpectedly, there is not even a champion strongman, and the number of kings is pitiful. But one thing is certain, that is, this base is about to be captured. At this time, the outside of the base was surrounded by military personnel. Helicopters and flying elves were hovering in the air, and there were bursts of roars. Master Yi. Ling Feng brought Zhang Xingyun to Yi Yuan, and said with a fist. Hello, Master Yi. Zhang Xingyun also saluted. The champion who participated in this time was Yi Yuan, who came from Yangcheng. He was also the owner of the Yangcheng dojo and a powerful ancient warrior. Before the elf competition, when Zhang Xingyun went to Yangcheng, he received guidance from Yi Yuan, and got the fighting badge of the Yangcheng dojo. It's you. Yi Yuan also recognized Zhang Xingyun. He left a deep impression on Yi Yuan that day. In addition, he won the championship of this competition. As a dojo owner, he would naturally remember him. Such a large base, there is actually no champion level person guarding it, and we only met a few king level people. It's a bit strange. Yi Yuan said with some doubts. Indeed, I also feel a little strange. What is this rocket team doing? Ling Feng nodded. He felt the same way. But anyway, it's good that we have taken down this base. After sorting out the information, we will see if we can catch a few people. Yu Yuan said loudly. Who as he spoke, 3 more people rode on the elves and rushed over to report the progress of the mission to Yu Yuan. Zhang Xingyun then learned that this operation was jointly dispatched by the 4 cities of Changning City, Biguan City, Dayuan City and Yangcheng City. Yu Yuan was the main person in charge. A total of 1 champion, 7 kings, more than 50 quasi-king trainers, and elite trainers in the army were dispatched. The overall situation was determined, and Ling Feng and his friends also talked and laughed. Everyone's face was full of smiles. They thought this mission was difficult, but they didn't expect this mission to be unexpectedly easy. It ended just like that. After returning, it was another credit. This time, nearly 300 researchers were captured. Only one base has such scientific research capabilities. I don't know what level the scientific research of the rocket team headquarters has reached. Duan Yuanbei, the chief investigator of Dayuan City, said. These more than 300 researchers are all highly educated and many of them come from China's top 10 universities, or have studied abroad, so their research capabilities are naturally not low. Among them, they still need to be screened. Chapter 756 Company Establishment. Moreover, it is impossible to kill all the researchers. Some of them were also coerced by Team Rocket, and they will be given a lighter sentence after investigation and interrogation. Hey, we eliminated another stronghold, and weakened some of their strength. Ling Feng looked at the ruins of the base after the war and laughed. As an investigator who dealt with Team Rocket, he was happy to see this scene. Some artifacts in the base were carried out, classified and registered. This operation was a great success. 3 enemy trainers at the level of the king, more than 20 cadres at the level of the quasi-king, a large base was tinkered with, and many other gains were made. It's cracked. Then several people took the cracked file and handed it over for Yu Yuan and others to see. The cracked files were the strongholds of Team Rocket distributed in the Changning area. With this cracked file, everyone also knew the geographical location of other strongholds. Everyone immediately prepared themselves and went to eliminate these strongholds in 2s and 3s with the forces of investigators from various cities. Dozens of figures flew across the sky, heading in one direction. Zhang Xingyun and Ling Feng were among the team, and they led the team to the routing point. Soon, they landed in a small basin. The environment here was very beautiful, with flowers and plants intertwined and lush green. But this was a base of the rocket team, not far from the city of Changning. Move. Soon, dozens of people started moving. Their movements were uniform, cooperating with each other, and slowly approached. Boom 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 woo 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 boom 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 are all sounded, accompanied by a series of piercing alarms, and the originally peaceful area became chaotic. An hour later, Zhang Xingyun and his men came to the command room of the base. In front of them squatted more than 20 people, all of whom were members of the rocket team who had been captured, but these people were small figures, and the person in charge of the base had run away early. What a pity. Laolin asked the brothers to clean up. Ling Feng ordered. Okay. Lin Jian's Hang went down to do his job after hearing this. This matter has come to an end. Changning can be peaceful for a while. Ling Feng took out a cigar, lit it and started smoking. Uncle Ling, let me ask you, how did you deal with the seized rocket team equipment? Zhang Xingyun sat down in front of Ling Feng and asked. Why, which equipment do you want? Ling Feng put down the cigar and asked back. I want to develop the equipment in the laboratory of the energy cube. Energy cube equipment? That should be fine, but if it's some biochemical experiments, it's unlikely to work. Hey, why do I need biochemical stuff? I'm planning to start a company with my friends recently to engage in the elf industry. These equipment are just right. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. Oh, is that so? Okay, I'll say hello to them, and you can apply for it after the identification is completed. Ling Feng said. Thank you, Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun thanked him. No need, why should I be polite to your Uncle Ling? Soon, several captains of Lin Jian's Han came to report the situation. Everyone had a smile on their face. After this was done, they would also get a lot of benefits. Maybe they could get a batch of resources to cultivate elves, and go even further. Hahaha, this trip was a complete success. It was all thanks to everyone. Ling Feng laughed. It was all because of your wise leadership, Chief, that we had such a victory today. One of the captains said. Thanks to Zhang Xingyun for his help. Yes, yes. The others also complimented him. They followed Zhang Xingyun this time. With his help, they didn't have any casualties. They got this credit without doing anything. In the early morning, Zhang Xingyun rode on a flying dragon to the suburbs of Changning City and then returned to the villa. The matter of the base was over. Ling Feng and his team were responsible for the rest. As for whether the rockets would retaliate, it was unknown. Zhang Xingyun came to the study, picked up a pen and started writing, thinking about what he would do next. Now that all government departments have returned to work, he has to find time to deal with the company's affairs. The energy cube device is also a profit point, which can correspond to mid to high-end consumption. As for those personnel, we can see if we can make use of them. Zhang Xingyun thought of the equipment at the base and the researchers. If the researchers in charge of the energy cubes operate properly, they can be used. For these researchers, if they have not committed a serious crime and are under duress, the general punishment will not be very large. I can come forward to guarantee and then hire them, which is also feasible. I don't know if I can get those high precision instruments. If I can save a lot of trouble and the research and development process will be much faster. Zhang Xingyun thought of the instruments that can make more than half of the high level energy cubes. For this kind of thing, the control from above is very strict. I wonder if Ling Feng and himself can try to get it. Buzz 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 at this time, the mobile phone next to him vibrated. It was Chengzu who called and talked about something about the company. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xingyun and Chengzu came to the government building of Changling City. Half an hour later, with the green light all the way, Zhang Xingyun got the job done. Starting today, Unio Group is officially established. Hey, I've never seen the director of the Industrial and Commercial Bureau like that. Last time I came here to handle something, his eyes seemed to be on top of his head. He didn't even look at me, but he was so respectful to you. It's really. Chengzu kept talking. He had been turned away and treated coldly here before. Maybe we have to decide on the venue first. The two got in the car and came to an industrial park. When they arrived, a middle-aged man in a suit was already waiting. Seeing the two get off the car, he hurriedly came to greet them. Hello, Mr. Cheng. Hello, Mr. Li. Who is this? Li Shuai looked at Zhang Xingyun and asked. Hey, don't you recognize him? This person is a famous person. Chengzu said with a smile, and the three of them walked inside, talking as they walked. Forgive me for my poor eyesight. I can't recognize this nobleman. Li Shuai said softly. His company was about to go bankrupt, and he was very busy recently. He just felt that Zhang Xingyun was a little familiar, but he couldn't tell where he was. Chapter 757 Purchase of Company Headquarters. Forget it, let's not talk about anything else. Let's get straight to the point. Zhang Xingyun interrupted. Yes, come to my office to discuss in detail. Li Shuai brought the two to the office and discussed things. The thing to discuss was naturally this park. Because of his poor management, the company's development was declining, so he planned to sell the park on hand to obtain funds. It happened that Chengzu knew about it, and today's incident happened. Li Shuai smiled and took two documents and handed them to the two people so that they could understand clearly. Well, it's not bad. After reading it, Zhang Xingyun nodded and was quite satisfied with this park. This park covers an area of more than 300 acres, with scientific research buildings, office buildings, work areas, and dormitory areas. It has a good geographical location. It is located in the high-tech zone in Changling City, and is an ideal company location. That's good. Then let's talk about the price. Li Shuai said with a smile. He saw that the young man in front of him was probably from a big family, and he probably came to experience the fun of starting a business. He has seen a lot of such things these days, but it doesn't prevent her from making money. She wants to trade the park quickly to get enough cash, such as turnover for other things. Then Mr. Li, let's not waste time talking. Let's talk about the price. I still think the 4.5 billion you mentioned before is too much, and I think it can be negotiated. Chengzu said directly. Ahem, Mr. Cheng, you also know that this park is a high-tech park. There are many equipments you use in it. 4.5 billion is really not much, and it is definitely worth this price, Li Shuai said immediately. Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything and watched the two people bargaining calmly. He has a lot of money, and he still has hundreds of billions on hand that he hasn't used much, but having money is a matter of having money, and it's not bad to spend less. The two were discussing, and Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone and looked at it. At this time, Nangang Yeo happened to send a message, and Zhang Xingyun clicked on his mobile phone and replied. What is Xingyun doing? Doing something big. What big thing? To buy a company, is that a big deal? Haha, well, I'll go to Changning in a few days to inspect my territory. While chatting, Chengzu and Li Shuai who had almost finished their discussion, and the previous 4.5 billion was suppressed to 4.3 billion, saving 200 million. Afterwards, the two parties signed the contract, which was considered to be done. Mr. Li, why don't you also take some shares and invest? After putting down the pen, Zhang Xingyun smiled and raised it. Haha, no, I still need some investment funds, and I can't turn it around. You also know that this business is getting harder and harder to do now, otherwise I wouldn't sell such a good park. Li Shuai politely refused. In his opinion, this was the entrepreneurial trick of the young master's family. Whoever invested would be stupid. A few years later, Li Shuai looked at the industry giant Yun Yeo and felt extremely regretful for today's actions. After chatting for a while, Li Shuai said goodbye and left, leaving Zhang Xingyun and the other person sitting in the office. Zhang Xingyun sat in the president's chair, turned around casually, and looked at the clear sky outside. He couldn't help but feel proud. Chengzu was the same. He was also ambitious and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. Now that the company has Zhang Xingyun, he will definitely succeed and become bigger and stronger. Then the two of them got busy again, called the management who had not resigned, and came to the conference room for a meeting. Oh my god, sister, it's Zhang Xingyun who is the champion. The new boss of our company is the champion. Really? Hahaha. Fortunately I didn't resign. I have to post a circle of friends when I go back. My boss is a champion. Wow, haha. More than 20 people came one after another, mostly young people. After seeing Zhang Xingyun and the other person, the people sitting below whispered, he, the champion of the competition, is still hot. Except for some special people who don't know him. Everyone in China knows him. The 20 people below seemed a little excited. They had heard that the company had a new boss, a young man, and had wanted to resign. They did not expect that the boss was actually the champion of the competition. Okay, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Zhang Xingyun. The current company has officially changed to Yun Yeo Group. This is Chengzu, the general manager of our company. Zhang Xingyun briefly introduced himself, talked about some other things, and after a few words of encouragement, he handed it over to Chengzu to speak. Chengzu spoke vividly and at a high level. It can be seen that he has experience in this area. After a long meeting, the meeting was announced to be over. For these old employees, they did not dismiss them. Some positions were adjusted. Next, it depends on their abilities. Such a grass team of a company has been initially built, and the rest is to gradually improve them. On the same day, the team invited by Chengzu to develop incubation fluid moved into the park, and the company began to operate. In a courtyard in the Ice Sea Road area of Neon Country, Zhang Xingfeng was drinking tea and talking with a fierce-looking man and a beautiful young woman. Suddenly, the communicator placed aside rang. Excuse me, I have to answer the phone. Your Excellency, please. Zhang Xingfeng picked up the phone and walked out. Hello. Lord Shadow, there is news from the headquarters. Last night, our Yangxing base and the surrounding bases were all cleared. The leader is Yu Yuan from Yangcheng Dojo, and they gathered at Changling North Gate. Zhang Xingfeng listened to the report on the communicator expressionlessly. Well, I see. After listening to his subordinate's description, Zhang Xingfeng hung up the phone and put the communicator back in his pocket. You led people to tinker with Big Brother's base, which is a great contribution. Zhang Xingfeng laughed, then took out the communicator again, edited it, and then sent it out. After listening to his subordinate's story, Zhang Xingyun also knew that his younger brother also participated in this activity. However, he did not mean to commit a crime. He took away some of his direct subordinates, and he would not feel sad, no matter how many of the rest died. After adjusting his state, Zhang Xingyun put on a smile on his face again, and went into the house to continue the discussion. We are still very sincere. I hope you two can consider it. Mr. Zhang Xingyun, please consider it. After all, we are poor, and cannot be compared with your rocket team. The young woman said. Time is short. Zhang Xingyun said lightly, picking up a cup of tea and drinking it. In Changning City, China, Zhang Xingyun and Chengzu drove to the elf center. Zhang Xingyun received a message from Ling Feng about the equipment of the energy cubes. Chapter 758 Recruiting Soldiers. Uncle Ling, how are those instruments arranged? In Ling Feng's office, Zhang Xingyun and Chengzu sat opposite Ling Feng and asked. You can take them, but those most sophisticated and advanced instruments have been severely damaged. You can only find a way on your own. Ling Feng replied, looking at the fragrant tea. Okay, thank you Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun thanked him. Well, if it can be produced, advanced and above need to be reported. You have to remember this. Yes, I know. By the way, Uncle Ling, have the interrogation results of those R&D personnel come out? Mainly in terms of their R&D capabilities. It's out. Their crimes are not serious, but after all, they have been working in the rockets for a long time. They have been sentenced to 6 months to 5 years. Why do you want to bail them out? Ling Feng said slowly, holding up 2 cups of fragrant tea and placing them in front of the two. I have this idea. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. But I have to disappoint you. Those senior experts have been transferred by people above, and some experts have been bailed out by their families. There are not many people left. Okay, I'll talk to them about the rest. Zhang Xingyun replied. Well, with your qualifications, it should be no problem to bail out the others. If not, call me again. Okay. After chatting for a long time, Zhang Xingyun came to the logistics department, went through the formalities, and received the equipment. Of course, it was not for nothing to receive it. He had to pay a sum of money and merit points, but Zhang Xingyun had all of them. After completing the formalities, Zhang Xingyun and Chengzu drove to Changning prison. It's easy to get things done with someone in the court. The high-level energy cube equipment is now in hand. I wanted to apply for the intermediate one before, but I was always rejected because I was not qualified enough. Chengzu shook his head and laughed in the car. Thinking of the previous experience, he complained. But he was also glad that he could take his car. But the personnel is a problem. Chief Ling also said that some senior and background-oriented people have been bailed out. Now the remaining personnel are probably ordinary researchers, the kind without any background. Isn't this good? Those with backgrounds won't get our turn, and we can save a lot of trouble. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile while driving the car, and then said, they were noticed by the rocket team, so their level should be good. Besides, they have worked with those experts and professors for so long, so they have some experience. You have a point. The two soon arrived at Changning prison. For these researchers, the place of imprisonment is different from that of ordinary criminals. Compared with some other criminals, their treatment is still very good, with much better food, clothing and daily expenses, and they can also have some time to look up information every day. Alas, their connections have all gone, and we are left with a hard time. 5 men and 2 women sat on the lawn, and one of them complained. The 7 of them were from ordinary families, and it was not enough to bail them out, so they had to stay in this prison for a long time. I should have known that I would not have joined the company so easily. I really regret it. One of the women said. Now that things have come to this, it's good to save my life. Let's just imprison. Anyway, it's the longest time I have to stay, 1 year, and you can get out earlier. Beijinglan sighed. They were all students who had just graduated not long ago. After joining the rocket team, they were not important figures, and they did not do anything bad or big, so the punishment time was relatively short. Alas, I'm worried whether we will be affected in the future. If we are affected, then all the years of studying will be wasted. Zhang Xingyun also sighed. I hope not. The other people said uncertainly. Although we have this experience, our skills are real. I heard from others that people like us are still popular. I don't know. I hope so. I'm thinking about finding a decent job after I get out. Hello, Warden Yan. Hello, Mr. Zhang. In the warden's office, Zhang Xingyun shook hands with the warden. At this time, there were already several people in suits and leather shoes sitting in the office. Warden Yan, you should know the purpose of my visit this time. I want to ask what procedures need to be handled. Zhang Xingyun asked after sitting down. Haha, what a coincidence. They are also here to bail. Yan Guan said with a smile, pointing to the people in the office. Oh, really? That's a coincidence. Zhang Xingyun also laughed and didn't expect these people to be fast. When Zhang Xingyun looked at them, they were also looking at him with vigilant eyes. What was going to happen next was a fight. Judging from Yan Guan's attitude towards him, he must have a great background. Everyone, you are all eligible for bail. I won't say anything. You just need to get the consent of the bailor. Yan Guan said loudly. These people were all from important backgrounds, and he didn't want to offend any of them, so he could only say this. Okay. So under Yan Guan's arrangement, Bei Xingwen and the other 7 came to an empty meeting room. These people are here to bail you out. Now you can talk together, mainly on a voluntary basis. Yan Guan said simply, and let them choose. Great, we have someone on bail too. Don't be happy yet, let's see what conditions are there. Zhang Xingyun said carefully. She was cheated once, and now she was a little scared when she saw these company personnel in suits and leather shoes. Come one by one, in the order you arrive. Yan Guan said again, and got everyone's consent. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Changning Elf Technology Group. Our company is strong and has very high R&D capabilities. We are interested in recruiting you to become a member of the company. Can you tell me about the salary? Due to some factors, we need to sign a 20-year employment contract, and the salary is the same as that of the company's internal staff. A company's personnel specialist introduced. We are Changning Xianu Group. Our company has been engaged in the elf R&D industry for more than 30 years. We need a 15-year employment period. Langteng Group Changning branch. Everyone introduced the company and talked about the salary issue. The company behind it has a good background. Zhang Xingyun and others were a little tempted, but did not agree at once. Chapter 759, Breakthrough and Champion Strength of Crystal Steelix. When it was Zhang Xingyun's turn to go on stage, Zhang Xingyun and the other 7 were slightly surprised. Hello. Seeing the slightly surprised expressions of the 7 people, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. The 7 people were escorted back by him. As you can see, I'm here to bail you out as well. I have also taken the instruments you originally obtained. Are you interested in coming to our company? The people from the companies nearby were also shocked when they heard that he had obtained the instruments. Then your research and development conditions will be the same as usual. As for the salary issue, our company is also very sincere, and the contract you need to sign will only last for 3 years, and you can renew it or resign after 3 years. Zhang Xingyun said slowly, and also talked about his own advantages. What should I say, Sister Xingyun? The conditions offered by this investigator are quite good. Our previous instruments are also with him, and the previous research materials may also be there. In this way, we don't have to start from scratch. I will think about it, don't worry. Everyone, you can think about it. After letting them continue to think about it, Zhang Xingyun walked out. As soon as he came out, people from other companies gathered around him and chatted with him. Considering future business dealings, Zhang Xingyun and Chengzu also responded enthusiastically. Hahaha, great, I thought we were staying here, I said. So which company should we choose now? Langteng Group is pretty good, it's a big company, but you have to work for 10 years. Xingyun, which company are you going to? Do you have a preference? Bei Xingwen came to Zhang Xingyun and asked. He knew that her scientific research ability was very strong. Several problems she encountered before were all raised by her, but in the previous team, and in that environment, she was very low-key. I want to go to Unio Group. Zhang Xingyun said. Why, this is a new company. Nothing, because he has the conditions we had before, and he can even get those sophisticated instruments, which shows that he has an extraordinary background. Besides, I like this 3-year period very much. Zhang Xingyun said calmly, and then laughed again. I've been cheated once before. This time, I'm joining a company with a background in search officers, which is also quite good. Is this complimentary? Yes, I see. Bei Xingwen nodded, and he had an answer in his mind. The 7 people discussed it. An hour later, when Zhang Xingyun came again, he got their answers. Among the 7 people, 5 agreed, and the other 2 went to other companies. Zhang Xingyun was also very happy. After completing the formalities, he brought the 5 people to the company, visited them, and encouraged them a few words, before letting them go to rest. When those equipment arrives, the security must be done well. They are all high-end stuff. Zhang Xingyun instructed that those equipment can produce high-end energy blocks and cannot be stolen. I think the previous security personnel are too weak, so I plan to let Linji take charge of the security. Okay, I feel relieved to let him come. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. After dealing with some things, Zhang Xingyun returned to the villa and came to the training ground in the villa. Electric shock monsters and others also stayed here these days. Roar, roar, roar on the training ground. The crystal steel snake was tumbling. Its crystal-like body was emitting brilliant glass light under the sunlight, and its aura was slowly rising. Since it was subdued by Zhang Xingyun, it has received reasonable training and experienced many battles. Its strength has also been slowly rising during this period of time. Roar, a terrifying aura emanated from it, and the energy fluctuations of the peak of the late Heavenly King. A wave of air spread to the surroundings. Has the crystal steel snake broken through the peak of the late Heavenly King? On the edge of the training ground, Zhang Xingyun looked at the crystal steel snake and said softly. Although he was very busy these days, he did not fall behind in the training of the elves. Now the crystal steel snake has successfully reached the peak of the late Heavenly King. This is its normal strength, not counting other increases. It has been a while since the crystal steel snake was subdued. After subduing it, Zhang Xingyun took care of it again to make up for the load on its body caused by some improper habits when it was in the wild before. The care also took a lot of time. Finally, it broke through to the peak of the late Heavenly King today. The gem level energy cube is quite useful. As he said this, Zhang Xingyun took out a gem level energy cube from the space and put it in its mouth, which was swallowed by it. Now Crystal Steelix has reached the peak of the late Heavenly King. The next step is to break through to the first level of champion. Crystal Steelix, let's try the effect of the amplification of the spirit attachment technique. Roar. Then Zhang Xingyun's spirit attachment technique was used on it to amplify it. After being amplified by the spirit attachment technique, the aura of Crystal Steelix rose a lot, but it has not yet broken through the first level of champion. Then, Super Evolved Crystal Steelix. Zhang Xingyun took out the keystone and started the super evolution with a thought. Roar. The brilliant and dazzling evolution light lit up on the body of Crystal Steelix, and its body shape also changed. An aura that was even more terrifying and vast than before emanated from the Super Crystal Steelix. Roar, roar, roar. Crystal Steelix felt the endless energy in his body, and he could also resonate with the energy of heaven and earth, and use the power of heaven and earth to fight against the enemy. This power made Crystal Steelix's eyes a little lost. That's right, the breath of the champion. Haha, I have the spirit of the champion's fighting power. Zhang Xingyun laughed after feeling it. After breaking through the peak of the late King of Heaven, Crystal Steelix, after the double increase of spirit possession and super evolution, crossed the first level of King of Heaven, and entered the realm of champion. Among them, Crystal Steelix's perception of the energy of heaven and earth has also reached a certain level. Nido Hassan, the Nido Kings next to him, felt a terrifying pressure emanating from Crystal Steelix, and there was envy in their eyes. After all, Crystal Steelix reached this step first. But after thinking about it, he was relieved. Roar, roar. Crystal Steelix roared excitedly, and then leaned down to express his gratitude to Zhang Xingyun. Haha, I said it before, I will make you stronger, and you won't regret the choice you made that day. Zhang Xingyun patted its forehead, and said with a smile. Roar, roar, roar. You can't slack off either. Now you have increased your strength. Break through and become a true champion elf as soon as possible. Roar, roar, hey, hey, roar, hiss. Who the electric shock monsters were also celebrating for it, celebrating the arrival of the first champion elf. Chapter 760, the idea of exchanging equipment. Looking at the majestic and vast atmosphere in front of him, Zhang Xingyun's face was full of smiles. Today is a double happiness. First, the company's progress is relatively smooth, and second, Crystal Steelix has also advanced to the realm of champion. However, what makes Zhang Xingyun happiest is the latter, Crystal Steelix's advancement to the realm of champion. If you have to say it, Zhang Xingyun can now be said to be a champion level trainer. Nidoking, Mantis, you also have to work hard and advance to the champion as soon as possible. Zhang Xingyun said to the two Pokémon Nidoking and Mantis. Nidohass and both Pokémon nodded. Their tone was very firm. Of course, Charizard, you also have to work hard. The champion is just a threshold for us. We still have a long way to go. Zhang Xingyun's eyes were full of yearning. He was confident that one day, he and the Pokémons would advance to the realm of champion, legend, and even above. Then he and the Pokémons had a sumptuous meal together to celebrate the advancement of Crystal Steelix. At night, Zhang Xingyun sat in the study, looking at the machines on the system interface in front of him. These machines are machines for making energy blocks, and can make gem level energy blocks. The energy value to be exchanged for it is a huge number, with many zeros marked behind it. Zhang Xingyun counted it, and found that the energy exchanged by these machines added up to 150 million. 150 million energy value, too much. Seeing this energy value, Zhang Xingyun murmured, but it is understandable to think about it. This is a device that can make energy blocks that exceed the advanced gem level. It is normal to be so expensive. I have to save energy value and then find a suitable opportunity and reason to make it appear. Zhang Xingyun estimated that the equipment he asked Lin Feng for before was also his layout to lay a good foundation for the appearance of these equipment. He didn't want to expose the system. When Crystal Steelix and Nidoking officially break through the champion level, these can also appear. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. At that time, with his strength and status, he can also keep these. Now in the Huaxia Academy of Sciences, gem level energy cubes can be produced, but the output is very low, and even fewer are circulated. It is also a huge business opportunity, and it is a high-end business opportunity that cannot be measured by money. Maybe he can use this to obtain the resources and wealth he wants. In the long run, he can also use it as a family business and pass it on to his children and grandchildren. The system has always been of great help to him. After becoming a trainer, he doesn't have to worry about resources. As long as he has energy points, he can exchange resources, and the sources of energy points are also very wide. The system can also exchange resources, cultivation plans, cultivation secrets, etc. for him. These points are also one of the reasons for his leapfrog improvement in strength. Shashasha Zhang Xingyun wrote on the book with a pen, stroke by stroke, making plans. Outside the house, Nidoking and others were in a very high mood, exchanging insights and experiences with Crystal Steelix. Crystal Steelix did not hide anything, and said it all. Lizard King, Metagross and other juniors listened quietly, but they felt it was very profound, and seemed a little confused. The Lizard King looked sideways, and saw that Jenga was actually asleep, with drool still flowing from his mouth, so he raised his hand and patted it. Hiss chama chama hiss hey, this Jenga is really lazy. Zhang Xingyun, who was by the window, saw this scene, and couldn't help laughing. Such a day is also good, he thought to himself. There was no conversation that night, and time passed quickly. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes, felt a power filling his body, and nodded secretly. It won't be long before he can break through to the late stage of the King of Heaven. After packing up and having breakfast, he drove to the company. This company is also one of his plans, and is very important. When he arrived, Chengzu was already busy, and there were people working in other positions. Now his small company is also running, and everything is getting better in a hurry. Chengzu walked in from outside, with a smile on his face and a document in his hand. It's been reviewed. Starting today, our company's incubation fluid can be produced. He handed the document in his hand to Zhang Xingyun for review. Very fast. Zhang Xingyun looked at the document and nodded. Those instruments must be taken seriously. They are an important guarantee for us to move to the high end. Zhang Xingyun reminded. Don't worry, I remember. Chengzu nodded. He knew what to do without saying anything. After talking for a while, Chengzu left. The phone on Zhang Xingyun's desk rang. He picked it up and heard that it was Lin Ji calling, saying that Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian were visiting. Hahaha, President Zhang, you're very quick. You founded the company without saying anything. If I hadn't heard my uncle talk about you this morning, I wouldn't have known about it. Yi Crossing and the others came to the office and laughed. They were not polite. They found a place to sit down, looking quite casual. Your uncle? Well, he went to the prison yesterday and said he met you. The person who was supposed to be released on bail was also released on bail by you. Yi Crossing explained that his family was not bad and he also had several large-scale companies. His family was also considered a big family in Changning City. It's just a small fight. You are too modest. I heard that those equipment were also obtained by you. There was a big fight. Otherwise, I will come to work for you. Is the treatment preferential? We are old classmates. Hey, if you come, the treatment will definitely be preferential. Just 3,000 a month. Are you kidding me? By the way, food and accommodation are not provided. Zhang Xingyun added with a smile. Damn, they are so exploitative. They are capitalists. Big capitalists. Ha ha ha. The three sat on the sofa and chatted. In a few days, it will be the anniversary of our Changning No. 6 middle school. Leo Wang asked a few of us to go there. Okay. Zhang Xingyun nodded. He also received a message from Wang Yu asking him to attend the anniversary. Have you heard? It seems that the government is planning to get more land from the wild recently, and with the help of Yangcheng, Shenzhen, Changning and Biguan, build a new city in the middle of the four cities. Yi Crossing said slowly. He was well informed and knew a lot of things. That's good too. Zhang Xingyun said, and he was not surprised. After all, he participated in the construction of a city before. After the country's strength increases, it is natural to do so, to ease the population pressure. Not only is Nanao province doing this, other provinces are also implementing this policy, expanding and building cities. Chapter 761 Nangang Yao arrives. Nemen country has not been peaceful these days. Several volcanoes have erupted, and there have been tsunamis. I don't know how many people have been killed or injured. The new election has come out. I wonder who will be able to join the central government. The date of the King of Heaven competition has also come out. Like in the past, it will be in July this year. The other 4 days, Suki and Liu Zhao have also returned to China. In the office, Yi Crossing talked about one thing after another, both domestic and foreign, and Zhang Xingyun was able to know these things. By the way, Xingyun, are you going to participate in this year's King of Heaven competition? I remember that you are eligible for the King of Heaven nomination, so you can participate directly. Yi Crossing looked at Zhang Xingyun and said, I'm not sure about this yet. Let's see when the time comes. Zhang Xingyun replied. Looking at the time, it was already noon. Zhang Xingyun felt that time passed so quickly. The morning passed just like that. The three of them went to a restaurant together and had lunch. They declined Yi Crossing's invitation to go out and play. After lunch, Zhang Xingyun returned to the company. As soon as he arrived at the company, Chengzu pushed open the door of the office and walked in with a happy face and a large bottle of green liquid in his hand. Is this the hatching liquid you mentioned? Zhang Xingyun took it and sent out his mental power to explore it, feeling the energy in the hatching liquid. Yes, this is the first batch of products. I brought it to you to see. It's so fast. I thought it would take a few days to see it. This is the data of this hatching liquid. The effect is much higher than that of the market. It should be very popular. Are you sure? If it is confirmed to have this effect and the price is right, there will be no worries about sales. Zhang Xingyun looked at the green hatching liquid and said lightly, yeah. After chatting for a long time, Chengzu went down to work, and Zhang Xingyun left the office after receiving a call, driving the car, and driving on the road. Xingyun, I'm at Changning Airport. Nangang Yao's pleasant voice rang in the Bluetooth. I'm on my way now. Jao, wait a moment. I'll be there soon. Okay. Soon, Zhang Xingyun arrived at Changning Airport. After entering the airport, he saw Nangang Yeo waving at him. Zhang Xingyun walked over with a smile, and the two hugged each other. Have you missed me these days? After they separated, Nangang Yeo said with a smile. Of course, let's go home. Zhang Xingyun said, and the two walked outside hand in hand. After getting in the car, they drove towards home with a bang. In the car, Nangang Yeo kept talking about what happened in the past few days, and Zhang Xingyun nodded and responded beside him. By the way, I heard that you participated in the destruction of the Yangtze base. It's not about whether he is okay or not. Speaking of this, Nangang Yeo mentioned this. Brother is fine. He went somewhere else. I participated. Otherwise, I would not go. Zhang Xingyun replied. I see, that's good. Jaoa, our Yun Yeo group has been established. Let's go and have a look when we have time. Okay. The two of them soon arrived at the villa. When Nidoking and other elves saw her, they also greeted her in a friendly manner. Hello, Nidoking, electric beast. Nangang Yeo smiled and greeted, then took out the elf ball and released her elf. The two elves were very familiar with each other, and they chatted very familiarly, exchanging experiences with each other, and the scene was very lively. Zhang Xingyun and the other person also came to the hall and started talking. When I was chatting with Meng Meng and the others last night, they said they wanted to come to Changning to play. Really? Then let them come. It's good to come and play. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, and brought a glass of juice, and placed it in front of her. When you came, did your uncle and aunt tell me anything? Zhang Xingyun asked again. No, I just want you to go back to Jinling more often. Okay, when we have some free time, we'll go back. Okay. In the evening, the two of them were walking in the bustling streets of Changning, just like ordinary couples, strolling around. If they saw something they liked, they would go up and buy it. At this time, the two of them walked into the square arm in arm. You've been busy with company matters recently. Have you slacked off in your Pokémon training? Nangang Yeo said. No, how could that be? By the way, Jaoa, I have good news for you. Crystal Steelix now has the combat power of an early champion. Really? Nangang Yeo said in surprise. Well, I'm not lying to you. Zhang Xingyun smiled and nodded. My god, Ever broke through to the late heaven leaking during this period of time. I thought the gap between us was shortened, but I didn't expect that the gap between us seemed to be even greater. Nangang Yeo said helplessly. No, that's combat power. There's still a distance to really win the championship. Zhang Xingyun touched her hair and said, well, then, do you want to participate in this year's King of Kings tournament? I think so. At least we have to wait until Nidoking and the others all break through the championship level. Otherwise it will be useless if we participate. The two saw that the place ahead was very lively and full of people. They were curious and went over. When they got there, they found that it was a Pokémon gambling egg. Don't miss it. If you pass by, you only need 10,000 Pokémon coins to participate. Now my store has just opened, and there are many discounts. If you buy 3 times, you will also receive a set of hatching equipment. A clerk held a loudspeaker and said in his passionate voice. It turned out to be a gambling egg. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo stood by and watched this scene. Many people also walked forward to try gambling eggs. Back then, I also got Nidoking through gambling eggs. I was really poor at that time. Looking at this scene, Zhang Xingyun thought of himself in the past. He also got Nidoking through gambling eggs. But at that time, he had the assistance of the system to ensure that he would make a profit. Zhang Xingyun saw an ordinary looking boy choose a Pokémon egg with a green pattern. It was a green qualified Trumpet but Pokémon egg, and the boy made a profit. White qualified Rattata, yellow qualified Spearow, and white qualified Zubat. Most of the people who bought it were boys and girls. Looking at them holding Pokémons, they showed expectant smiles, probably imagining what it would be like to be a trainer. Maybe in their world, the journey of a trainer is still beautiful. The two were about to go up and take a gamble, but they were told that it was gone today and there would be an event tomorrow, so please come early. The two continued to shop, bought a lot of things, and then returned to the villa. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762. Zimeng Meng arrives. The next day, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao came to the Uniao group's residence and sat in the office. This decoration style is a bit old. Nangang Yao sat on the office chair and looked at the decoration in the office and said, "That was left by the company's former chairman, Mr. Lee. I thought it was okay, so I didn't change it." Zhang Xingyun replied and sat down next to her. "How many people are there in the company now?" Nangang Yao asked. "About 60 people, most of whom are left by the previous company, and a small number are newly recruited. By the way, these 7 people, Beijingwen and Zhang Xingyun, joined the R&D department through bail. Originally, the 7 of them were in charge of this part in the rocket team. I think the 7 of them have a lot of experience, so I use them. As for the security department, Linji is an old friend of mine, and is quite reliable. The current general manager is Cheng Su, also an old friend of mine, and can be trusted." Zhang Xingyun explained slowly, allowing her to understand the people in the company. "Okay." Nangang Yao nodded, indicating that she understood, and then asked about business issues. "I got a set of equipment for making energy cubes from Team Rocket, ranging from elementary to advanced, and even some of the most sophisticated ones can make energy cubes that exceed advanced ones. At present, with the strength of Zhang Xingyun and 7 others, we can only mass produce elementary energy cubes, and the output is not much. Perhaps after a while, we can produce intermediate energy cubes and hatching liquid. What I think is promising is these machines that can make energy cubes that exceed advanced ones." "So confident." Nangang Yao was surprised. "Well, that's how confident we are. In the future, we will always have machines that can make gem-level machines." Zhang Xingyun continued. "Haha, well, I'll wait and see." Nangang Yao smiled with her hands covering her mouth. She still had some doubts in her heart. His trainer was very strong, but it was impossible for him to be so strong in this equipment. "See that you don't believe it. Wait, I will study mechanical science hard and see how we make it." Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun said loudly, "PFFT, hahaha, then let's see if you can make it." Nangang Yao laughed immediately. After all, this was very outrageous. Just like an ordinary college student said that she could make a photolithography machine before the elves came. It was really a bit far-fetched. "Hey, then you just wait. It will definitely surprise you." Zhang Xingyun seemed quite confident, with a calm look. If he couldn't do it, he still had the system, but the energy value required was too much. This look made Nangang Yao feel that he seemed to be able to make it. Dong dong dong. At this time, the door was knocked. "Come in," Zhang Xingyun said. Catcher Chengzu walked in from outside with a document in his hand. "I have successfully signed contracts with Langayu and other stores. Our incubation fluid will be available on their shelves in a few days," Chengzu said, opening the document, which contained the contract. The contract was signed so quickly. "Fortunately, I know those people, and our products are pretty good." After chatting for a while, Chengzu left the office. "You found a good partner, a man who gets things done." "Yeah, Brother Zhu is quite capable. But such a big company can't rely on just him alone. We have to recruit people and try to build the company's structure. Now the company is small and the business is small, so it's still okay, but if it grows bigger in the future, it won't be suitable." "Yeah, what you said makes sense," Zhang Xingyun agreed. Inside the Yangxing forest, the original base was located. The base that was originally settled here was destroyed in the operations a few days ago. All the useful and valuable things were moved away, leaving only broken waste. At this time, a group of people came to the original ruins. The leader was a young man with a rebellious face. "Qiu Long. Haha, it's this guy again, finally stealing the show," Qiu Long said coldly. He also found out the personnel of this operation. As expected, the person he hated was still on the list. "What a great skill," Qiu Long said bitterly, and then looked at one of his subordinates behind him. "Has that person been staying in Changning?" "Master Qiu Long, we suffered a heavy blow this time. This base incident also led to the discovery of people in Changning City. There is no news now. The man in black shorts replied. Waste. Qiu Long cursed loudly, extremely depressed. Now in Changning City, without anyone, he was blind. Master Qiu Long, my line is broken. Maybe Master Shadow, who is in charge of this area, may have a backup plan. Ha, Shadow, this villain. Qiu Long couldn't help but feel angry when he thought of what Shadow said in front of the leader last time. Even if it was indeed caused by him, he shouldn't say that, at least in his opinion. Fuck, thinking of this, he cursed wildly and then turned to the man and said, go contact those people. Yes. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao drove to Changning Airport to pick up Zimeng. Hahaha Yao, I miss you so much. Zimeng ran over quickly and hugged Nangang Yao. I miss you too. Nangang Yao replied. Why did you come so soon? I thought you would come in a few days. Oh, isn't this because I miss you? Zimeng said in a delicate voice. I don't believe it. Okay, actually I'm too bored at home, but I really miss you, believe me. Okay, I believe you. Nangang Yao coaxed. Xingyun, long time no see. Finally, Zimeng turned to face Zhang Xingyun and said, well, long time no see. You look like this. You have had a good year. You look a lot plumper. No, it's your taste. I have lost a lot of weight. My clothes are loose. Let's go. Let's go back first. Then, the three of them went to a luxurious restaurant to welcome her and have a meal. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun came to the car and Nangang Yao and Zimeng sat in the back and talked. I heard that you, Zhang Dagwanjun, founded a group and are now the president. Zimeng said from the back of the car. But you can't be called a big president. You just make a living. Then can I also go to your company to make a living? Don't worry, I don't eat much. Hahaha. Zhang Xingyun was also amused. Zimeng's arrival also made the villa more lively. Chapter 763. Breakthrough to the late Heavenly King. It's boring anyway. Why don't I go to your company for a few days? In the villa, Zimeng looked at Zhang Xingyun expectantly. It's up to you. Yao and I will go to recruit in a few days. You can come with us if you want. Okay. Zimeng said excitedly and agreed immediately. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun returned to his room, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to practice. The energy fluctuations on his body became more and more intense. Zhang Xingyun knew that this was the opportunity for him to break through to the late stage of the Heavenly King. Then he used the energy in his body and began to attack according to the cultivation secret book. The energy polishing for many days has made his energy very deep. After a few preparations, he rushed towards the bottleneck. Dong dong dong. After a few muffled sounds, Zhang Xingyun's face was slightly red and his breath was the same as before, with no clear changes. Zhang Xingyun calmed down, slowly practiced his skills, and accumulated strength. Minutes and seconds passed, and suddenly he burst out violently, using all his energy to attack the invisible bottleneck. Dong, this time he succeeded, and a strong breath appeared on him. It's done, late Heavenly King. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and felt the strong power in his body. The two people in another room felt this breath and looked over here. What a strong breath. Xingyun has broken through again. Zimeng was surprised. Well, looking at the breath, he has broken through. Nangang Yao nodded and said, it's amazing. Not only is the Pokémon so powerful, but he is also a trainer. He is really a freak. Zimeng sighed. The Pokémons who sensed Zhang Xingyun's breath were also happy for him. The stronger he was, the more they benefited. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and continued to practice to consolidate the power he had just broken through. The next day, Zhang Xingyun got up early and went to the training ground to exercise. Only Lizard King and Jenga could exercise at full strength on the field. Other Pokémon such as Nidoking and Electabuzz could only do simple training. Because the field could not bear it, with their current strength, they could tear down the entire field once they started to move. The secret realm outside Daewon City. I searched for a long time last time, but didn't see any champion level elves. Will they be arranged? Zhang Xingyun was thinking on the training ground. Now he wants to fight a champion level elf. With his current strength, he can fight, even if he encounters a champion level elf, and maybe he can win. but champion level elves in the wild are very rare. Even if there are, if they are close to the city, they will be arranged to other places to prevent threats to the city and ensure the safety of the city. Of course, elves of other levels also have the effect of training other elves. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun's cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Ling Feng calling. It's Uncle Ling. Is there something good to call me again? Zhang Xingyun thought of this in his heart. He received a lot of help from Ling Feng. Generally, Ling Feng would call him because he had something to tell him, and it was usually good. He knew it from the previous few times. Hello, Xingyun, you are up at this time. Ling Feng's weak voice came from the phone. Good morning, Uncle Ling. I got up early and am exercising now. Well, I have something to tell you. A new city will be built soon. Are you interested in being the chief investigator of this new city? If so, I will recommend you. Chief investigator of a new city? Uncle Ling, forget it. I'm still young and have other things to do, so I won't do it. Zhang Xingyun declined. After becoming the chief investigator, there are many things to do, unlike ordinary investigators. You can see it from Ling Feng's daily life. But the chief investigator of a city is also a high-ranking position. Don't worry, you can think about it in the next few days. If you change your mind, you can tell me. Ling Feng continued. Okay, thank you Uncle Ling. Zhang Xingyun thanked him sincerely. Well, I heard that you have been busy with the company's affairs recently, and you also went to the prison to bail out those people, but you have to be careful to identify them, and don't let those with bad intentions take advantage of you. I know. Well, strength is the most important thing. Your company's affairs cannot delay your progress in strength. You still have a long future. Don't be trapped by these trivial matters. Just leave ordinary things to others. You have strength in your hands, and you are not afraid that they will have bad intentions. Okay. After chatting for a while, he stopped the phone. President Zhang, I'm exercising. Just as he put the phone back in his pocket, he heard Zimeng Meng next to him say, and Nangang Yao was also beside him. Hey, don't give me that. Can't you just call me by my name? Zhang Xingyun said, taking the milk handed by Nangang Yao and drinking it. I heard that you are going to recruit in a few days. Can you take me with you? With this cute look of this lady, you can definitely recruit the talents you want. Zimeng Meng leaned forward, holding her round face with both hands, looking very interested. If you are interested, come along. It's the boss. No, I don't have the money to pay you. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Stingy. Zimeng Meng said softly. The three of them had breakfast in the villa, and Zhang Xingyun came to the outskirts of Changning, riding Pidgeot to the secret realm outside Daewon City. See if he can encounter the champion level Pokémon that have not been cleared. Nangang Yao and Zimeng Meng did not follow, and stayed in the city. Zhang Xingyun rode Pidgeot and flew over steep mountains. The Pokémons he met along the way took the initiative to avoid Pidgeot when they felt the pressure from Pidgeot and were not harassed. When the sun was high in the sky, Zhang Xingyun landed at a place. Pidgeot, come back and rest for a while. Pidgeot turned into a red light and returned to the Pokéball. Zhengji Yui and Lizard King, come out. His Chamol Lizard King and Jenga came out of the Pokéball, stood in front of him, and roared very imposingly. Very good, you two are in good spirits today. You two should lead the charge again. His Jenga waved his fat and short hands, indicating that he was responsible for everything, while the Lizard King held a branch in his mouth and looked around vigilantly. Let's go, it's still the same old rules. I won't give orders, you guys will perform the whole thing by yourselves. I won't take action unless your life is in danger, even if you two are beaten up. Zhang Xingyun took a step forward. His Chamo the Lizard King and Jenga looked at each other and followed. Jenga's original playful smile also turned serious. One person and two elves walked in the forest. This time, Zhang Xingyun still wanted to try his luck to see if he could meet a champion level elf and have a fight with him. Chapter 764, Fighting in the Forest. Swish crunch, one person and two elves walked in the dense forest, passing by layers of dead branches and leaves. Under the shade of the towering trees with lush branches and leaves, there was little sunlight coming in, and it seemed a little dim and filled with an unpleasant smell. Chamo, the figure of the Lizard King, flipped and jumped on the big tree, as if walking on flat ground, and then stopped on a tree. Under the tree, there was a broken corpse that could not be seen in its original state, and it was bloody. It's so dark and quiet here. There should be a powerful hunter hunting in secret. You two have to be alert. Maybe it's watching us in a corner at this moment. Zhang Xingyun said to the two elves. After taking a look, his Jenga floated off the ground, carefully observing the surroundings, and then moved his hands. A huge shadow ball condensed in his hands, and then threw it in a direction. Boom! After the shadow ball landed, there was a loud noise, and the trees around the place where it landed all collapsed to the ground after this attack. Wush, a figure ran in the dark environment, as if realizing that he had provoked an enemy that was difficult to deal with, and ran in the opposite direction of the one man and two elves. His Jenga immediately merged into the darkness and followed. Swish! In the forest, a sound of leaves rubbing against each other was heard, and a cool leopard was running quickly. Hiss! Suddenly, a wave of evil broke through the air, and it hurriedly dodged and avoided the attack. The wave of evil that broke through the air exploded in front of it, and leaves and dirt flew everywhere. His Jenga's figure suddenly appeared on the side, and a dark, cold ghost claw continued to grab the cool leopard. Woo! The cool leopard folded its body, and its tail glowed faintly, and the iron tail greeted it. Ping! After a move, the cool leopard jumped to the side, with its front paws lying on the ground, and its mouth was calling out in a deep voice, as if warning the pursuing Jenga. His Jenga appeared on a tree, and then disappeared in the dim environment, without a breath, as if it had merged with the surrounding environment. Woo! The cool leopard's whole body was tense, and it looked around with full vigilance. And Jenga seemed to be teasing it, and did not appear. Who? Suddenly, a huge black fist stretched out from under it. The cool leopard jumped up, and there was a sound of breaking air behind it. At the critical moment, the cool leopard immediately reacted, condensing a wave of evil and rushing forward. His Jenga suddenly appeared again, stretched out his fist and hit the ground, and another black shadow fist emerged. The cool leopard dodged left and right, and just as he stopped, a shadow ball suddenly hit his face. Bang bang! Woo! After being hit, the cool leopard fell on a big tree and let out a scream. As soon as he opened his eyes, what came into view was Jenga's fat face with a treacherous smile, and its eyes were emitting blue light. The cool leopard immediately felt hazy, and wanted to cheer up, but no matter what he did, he seemed unable to break free. At this time, a thought arose in the cool leopard's mind, that is, it's over. The cool leopard lay on the ground, losing the power to resist. His Jenga looked at his masterpiece with a satisfied expression. This cool leopard, which was slightly stronger than it, was played around by it, and was easily solved by it. Its performance today was also related to the nether dragon orb. Chamo, the Lizard King, just arrived, and saw this scene. Hiss, hiss, Chamo, hey, you're pretty quick, a new round of battle is coming. Zhang Xingyun teleported, and appeared in a corner, leaning against a tree trunk, smiling. In the perception of his mental power, a team of uninvited guests was slowly approaching. As soon as this team of uninvited guests approached, Jenga sensed it. In terms of space, it was also an expert. After exchanging a glance with the Lizard King, the two Pokémons immediately moved, not advancing but retreating, and attacked. Boom boom boom! Then the area became lively, with constant explosions and flying skills. The team of uninvited guests was a team of Centipede Kings, probably attracted by the sound of the battle just now. Among the Centipede Kings, the strongest were Turquoise-seeking late-stage Centipede Kings, who were now fighting with two Lizard Kings. Come out, Pidgeot. Zhang Xingyun sensed several powerful auras in the distance, rushing quickly, took out the Pokeball, and released Pidgeot. Don't let those guys disturb us here, Zhang Xingyun said to Pidgeot. Pidgeot nodded, flapped its wings and flew away. After a while, the sound of fighting came. In the wild, this situation is normal. The sound caused by the battle will attract other Pokémon around. So the general trainer's flattery is shoot once, change places to prevent being surrounded. Hiss, the battlefield, where Jenga is located, is very lively at this time. Jenga uses the surrounding environment and its own advantages to appear and disappear, so that the Centipede Kings can't detect its traces. Every time it attacks, it can severely injure one of the Centipede Kings. Puchy Jenga appears again, grabs with a shadow claw, blood spurts out, and then hits a shadow ball, severely injuring another Centipede King. Raw dense attacks come at it, and Jenga loses his trace again. The next second, it appears on the side again. The Lizard King was not as cool as Jenga. It looked a bit embarrassed under the beating of several Centipede Kings. It also suffered many injuries. Those who were disgusted by Jenga all turned their anger on the Lizard King. Chamo facing the beating of 5 or 6 Centipede Kings, the Lizard King could only fight and retreat. During the fierce battle, it was attacked again. Bang, the Lizard King was knocked out and knocked down several trees before stopping. Chamo the Lizard King stood up quickly. The next moment, the Centipede Kings attacked again. It hurriedly responded and was beaten, very embarrassed. Chamo the Lizard King shouted at Jenga, feeling very depressed because it was always the one who got beaten. Hiss. Jenga also apologized and increased the intensity of the attack. Half an hour later, when the last Centipede King fell, the victory of this battle was announced. Chamo, after the battle, the Lizard King lay on the ground without any strength in his body, in great pain. Jenga apologized a little embarrassedly beside him. He also knew what happened just now, and it was considered a pitfall. Zhang Xingyun, who was standing by, laughed, and then he faintly felt a strong energy fluctuation in the east. Chapter 765, Champion Level 2 Tate Turtle. Madame Huaji helped heal the 2 Lizard Kings. Madame Huaji came out of the Pokeball, and then condensed healing energy, attached to the 2 Pokémons, and healed them. After a while, the 2 Lizard Kings also recovered. After a few simple cleanings, he let them rest for a while, and then rushed to the east. Just now, he felt a very strong energy fluctuation in the east, which should be a champion level Pokémon. He wanted to see if he could encounter it. On the way to the dark, he was also attacked by several Pokémons hiding in the dark, but they were all solved, contributing combat experience to the 2 Pokémons. Passing by one towering tree after another, the front was soon full of sunshine. After a while, Zhang Xingyun and the 2 Pokémons came to a river. The surrounding trees were not as tall as before, and the sun was able to shine on the ground. There were also flowers and plants growing under the trees, which was not as gloomy and dark as the jungle before. Zhang Xingyun continued to walk and came to a fruit forest, with bright fruits hanging on the trees. Flutter, flutter, seeing that there were outsiders coming, several pigeons flapped their wings and flew away. Several long-tailed monsters that were picking fruits from trees put down the fruits in their hands and ran away when they saw one person and 2 elves. Some elves did the same. Zhang Xingyun ignored them and continued to move forward with the 2 elves. He also found that the elves here were not very aggressive, perhaps because there was always enough food and they seemed a little shy. Jenga looked at the elves running away, picked a fruit, threw it into his mouth and started eating. Compared with the dim jungle just now, this place was full of bad song and flowers, like a paradise. Maybe there is a very powerful elf here, and this elf has a very gentle personality, so this place is like this. Zhang Xingyun guessed that, if there was no powerful elf here, it would not be so harmonious. The elves in the distant jungle are much more ferocious than these elites, and there is no reason for them to let these elves go. The further he went, the more elves he encountered. Many elves looked at the 2 elves with curious eyes. Just now, the extremely powerful energy fluctuation was just ahead. As he walked, Zhang Xingyun found that he was surrounded by a group of elves. However, they were just watching, not taking action, and had no hostility for the time being. The scene of elves living in harmony in anime also exists in reality, but it requires conditions. First, it means sufficient food, and second, it is the existence of a calming person. Obviously, the one in front of him met these 2 conditions. The elves living here get along very harmoniously, and don't seem to be very aggressive. Pia Picosi came out first, waving his hands, whispering to him, and the 2 elves. Get out of the way, I'm not looking for you. Zhang Xingyun used his supernatural power and said, and he also exuded a power that made the elves feel friendly. Picosi, like other elves, obediently made way and let him pass. Zhang Xingyun found that there were really many elves here, all kinds of elves, but the magical thing was that they all lived here in harmony. This way of living is not bad. Walking inside, the trees, flowers, and plants are more colorful, exuding a faint fragrance. In the grass in the distance, there are still a few young elves chasing and playing with each other. It's a pity that cruelty and blood are the real themes of most wild places. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun said, "There are similar places here in other places, but not many." Swish, Zhang Xingyun stopped, and the green grass in front of him was growing wildly. As he stopped, the green grass also stopped growing. Boom boom boom, the ground shook slightly, and a huge figure slowly walked towards here. Every step, the ground shook. With it, there was an extremely powerful pressure. It's it. Seeing the huge earth platform turtle slowly walking, Zhang Xingyun said softly. It was a huge earth platform turtle that was more than 10 meters tall, and on its back, there were many small elves staying there. Squeak, squeak woolly. With the appearance of the two-tailed turtle, many elves came over and called out to it intimately. It can be seen that, although this two-tailed turtle is huge and powerful, it is very loved by these elves. Perhaps it is the guarantee of harmony here. Human trainer, what are you doing here? A somewhat old voice came out of its mouth. This two-tailed turtle can actually speak. However, Zhang Xingyun has also seen the world and knows that there are elves that can speak in the elf world. In the secret realm of the Long family in the imperial capital, he encountered a talking dragonite. The stronger the elves are, the higher their intelligence. Some elves are smarter than ordinary humans and can also produce various strange changes, such as speaking human words. I'm here to challenge you. I hope you can have a sparring match with me. Zhang Xingyun said bluntly and proposed to challenge it. Seeing that it spoke human words, he was also more polite. The two-tailed turtle in front of him was very powerful. From the system interface, it was a mid-level champion Pokémon. Name, two-tailed turtle, male. Attributes, grass, ground. Characteristics, lush. Qualification, deep blue. Strength, mid-level champion. Skills, impact, leaf blade, retracting into shell, earthquake, absorption, photosynthesis, raw, destruction. Light, shadow clone, force of nature, rock blockade, sharp stone attack, sunlight flame, energy ball, grass knot. You have cultivated the Lizard King well. In time, his achievements will far exceed mine. Two-tailed turtle did not answer, but looked at the Lizard King and said to himself, as a grass-type Pokémon, it could also see the extraordinariness of the Lizard King and the Lizard King. Go back. Your Pokémon has not even entered the Heavenly King, so there is no need to challenge. Two-tailed turtle said gently. The human in front of him had a kind aura that it felt friendly to, and coupled with its own gentle personality, it was also very polite to him. It's not the two of them, but other Pokémon. Zhang Xingyun said, picking up the Pokéball of Crystal Steelix and throwing it out. Raw. The next moment, the huge body of Crystal Steelix appeared in the field, and it seemed to be only slightly taller than Tute. The Steelix is a different species of Steelix. Tute said as he looked at Crystal Steelix. The one challenging you is my friend Crystal Steelix. Chapter 766, Battle with the two-tailed turtle. After saying that, he picked up the keystone and started super evolution. Super evolved Crystal Steelix. Raw. The light shone everywhere, and then the super steel snake appeared in the field, emitting a loud roar. After another spirit attachment technique was added, a vast pressure spread out from its body, which was felt by all the elves on the field. At his signal, the crystal steel snake immediately restrained its breath, and all the elves on the field breathed a sigh of relief, feeling less depressed. Then I will accept your challenge. Let's change places. Okay. Two-tailed turtle called a few times to the elves behind him to let them disperse, and then spent some time to come to a spacious grassland. Two-tailed turtle and Crystal Steelix were not far apart, and this time they looked at each other, and a buzzing sound rang in the air, and the contest between the two began. Two powerful champion pressures confronted each other. Young. Two-tailed turtle spoke human words, and his body shook, and the crystal steel snake on the opposite side immediately retreated. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. Swish. The flowers and plants under its feet also started to move wildly at this time. Within a second or two, they grew very vigorously, forming a grass tornado that quickly bound it. Bang. Grass debris flew everywhere, and the airwaves rolled. Crystal steel snake broke free from it. Naturally, the attack of the two-tailed turtle could not stop it. The crystal steel snake emitted a strong ground energy and raised its huge tail to slap it. The next moment, the earth broke apart, and a deep gap appeared. The energy aftermath of the attack attacked the two-tailed turtle. The two-tailed turtle raised one foot and stomped on the ground. A strong energy wave came up from the ground. Boom, the two energies collided halfway, and the ground shook violently, with smoke and dust rolling. Crystal Steel Snake's eyes condensed, and the aftermath of its attack continued to pursue, and then hit the ground, launching an earthquake trick. After a loud rumbling sound, it blocked the attack. Whoosh whoosh, the sound broke through the air, and vines as thick as water tanks broke through the air. At the same time, the grass under the feet of Crystal Steel Snake was also under the control of the two-tailed turtle, growing wildly, with the posture of besieging it. Crystal Steel Snake, clear your area. Zhang Xingyun on the side issued an order, allowing Crystal Steel Snake to take action, so that it would not be so passive. Raw Crystal Steel Snake turned its body and spit out a dragon's breath from its mouth, blocking the attacking thick vines outside. In an instant, it injected its own energy into the ground and broke the restraints below. At this time, the ground also began to wriggle. Under the powerful force, the rigid earth also fluctuated like the surging waves in the sea and slapped it again and again. The two-tailed turtle's attack did not stop there. The sound of shua shua rang out on the field, and countless green flowers and leaves blew from the direction of the two-tailed turtle, and a storm of green leaves swept in. Crystal Steelix had just dealt with a wave of attacks, and before it paused, the next round of attacks arrived. Knock, knock, knock. The flower and leaf storm hit the protective shield in front of Crystal Steelix, and a few muffled sounds were heard. And the green leaf storm seemed to be endless, entwining Crystal Steelix and attacking it continuously. Raw Crystal Steelix immediately exerted its full strength, and a huge energy wave spread out to the surroundings, clearing an area surrounding it. Then, starlight shone in its big mouth. Swish, a beam of orange-yellow light shot straight out, breaking through the heavy green leaves and vines, and a huge explosion sounded, and smoke billowed where the two-tailed turtle was. Crystal Steelix's body is lightweight, and it is sacrificing itself to charge. Crystal Steelix led with its head, and a faint light bloomed on its body. Its heavy body seemed to have become lighter, and its huge body was like an arrow from a crossbow, rushing towards the two-tailed turtle opposite at a high speed. In these rounds of fighting, Zhang Xingyun also knew that the two-tailed tortoise on the opposite side was an extremely difficult opponent. It was also a powerful Pokémon that had been deeply involved in the champion realm for a long time. Its use of energy had reached a level of perfection, as evidenced by its continuous attacks on Crystal Steelix. Boom, in the induction of mental power, the two-tailed tortoise began to move, and its huge body began to move. The speed of its performance was not slow, and its huge size did not affect its speed. Is this rock climbing? This scene made Zhang Xingyun feel somewhat familiar. In his memories, Ios's forest tortoise had used it before, but he did not expect that the two-tailed tortoise in front of him could also do it. Boom, the two Pokémons immediately collided with each other, and were in a stalemate. Raw Crystal Steelix roared continuously, increasing its energy output, but it was still in a stalemate, and could not do anything to it. It's my turn. The trees on the two-tailed tortoise's back lit up with dazzling green light, and pushed back, repelling Crystal Steelix. More than 10 energy balls were thrown out, bombarding the location of the Crystal Steel Snake. Who under the control of the two-tailed turtle? The green leaves on the field fluttered wildly, and soon formed a series of grass leaf tornadoes, cracking the ground and flying endlessly. At this time, the Crystal Steel Snake was like a lone boat in the sea, struggling to resist attacks from all directions. The Crystal Steel Snake in the resistance felt a shadow covering it. Looking up, thick vines attacked it, and under the control of the two-tailed turtle, they were like soldiers who advanced and retreated in moderation, besieging the Crystal Steel Snake. The place where the two elves fought fiercely turned into a green ocean for several miles. Fortunately, the arrangement of the two-tailed turtle did not affect other places. The trapped Crystal Steel Snake also launched a counterattack, but it was not very effective, and was suppressed all the time. If there is no other counterattack strategy, then defeat will be the end. Is this the fighting power of the champion elf? Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun murmured. During the battle, the two-tailed turtle skillfully used the energy between heaven and earth to deal with the Crystal Steelix. On the other hand, the Crystal Steelix lost a lot in this regard. No matter the speed or the control strength, it was far inferior to the two-tailed turtle. It was suppressed since the beginning of the battle. The giant palms woven by thick withered vines suddenly fell to the ground, and the earth trembled a few times. The target of the attack was the crystal steelix. In the green leaf storm, the ground was also under the control of the two-tailed turtle, and had the power to attack. The steel-like defense of the crystal steelix gradually disintegrated under these waves of attacks. The figure of the crystal steelix suddenly disappeared from the spot, and appeared in front of the two-tailed turtle the next second, strangling it. The two-tailed turtle was not surprised by the sudden change, and reacted immediately, condensing a green energy ball in its mouth. Just as it was about to launch it, the attack of the crystal steelix arrived, and its iron tail hit the energy ball. Bang! The energy ball in front of the two-tailed turtle's mouth was hit by this blow, and it did not dissipate, but became bigger. Roar! The crystal steelix increased its strength. The energy ball in front of the turtle's mouth slowly retreated, and then was swallowed into the turtle's stomach. This is no way. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun seemed to have thought of something, and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Roar! After swallowing the energy ball, the turtle's strength instantly increased, shaking the crystal steelix away, and its huge body was filled with dazzling green light. Its aura was stronger than before. The crystal steelix was also surprised. It wanted to interrupt its attack, but it didn't expect that this would backfire. For some reason, this turtle's strength actually increased after swallowing the energy ball. Chapter 767 Accident and Defeat. Crystal Steelix moved forward and fought several rounds in a row, but was beaten back by the tortoise and suffered considerable injuries. Is this tortoise an evolution of his forest tortoise? Or has it become a spirit? It can speak human language, has this trick, and is huge in size. Well, it seems to be an elf, and is also a kind of spirit. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help thinking that the scene in front of him was very similar to the battle in his memory. In his memory, when Xiaos's forest tortoise fought against the ultra-armored rhino, also called ultra-Orion Tyrannosaurus, it was very similar to the scene now. After spitting in the energy ball, it also strengthened its strength. The world of elves is so big that it seems possible for such a scene to happen. There are still many unknowns waiting to be discovered. After the tortoise's strength increased, Crystal Steelix's situation became more dangerous. Facing the original tortoise, Crystal Steelix fell into an absolute disadvantage. In the current state of the tortoise, Crystal Steelix is even more unlikely to defeat it. With the help of his special ability, the Crystal Steel Snake avoided many attacks and continued to fight. The two-tailed turtle turned a deaf ear to it, but also took action. Puff puff puff, the vines broke out of the ground and attacked him, and he dodged them with a flash. Zhang Xingyun also had to pay attention to its attacks. The two-tailed turtle's main focus was on the Crystal Steel Snake, and he dodged it easily. This was a battle in the wild, not a competition venue in human society, so the two-tailed turtle's behavior was not a foul. Raw! Two destructive death lights collided on the field. As soon as they met, the Crystal Steel Snake felt very tired. The two-tailed turtle's attack was advancing towards it quickly, and it was no match for the two-tailed turtle at this time. Bang! After a muffled sound, a bottomless pit appeared where the Crystal Steel Snake was originally, emitting black smoke and hot air. The Crystal Steel Snake was teleported away at the critical moment. Teleportation is the skill that Zhang Xingyun is most familiar with and uses the most. It can be used in many cases. With this skill, Zhang Xingyun has avoided damage and escaped death many times. The trees on the back of the earth turtle lit up, more dazzling and brighter than before. It used all its strength. The next few kilometers are within its attack range. Even if there is teleportation, it is useless in this situation. When it appeared, it was hit head on. With a loud bang, the Crystal Steel Snake fell to the ground on one side. The battle fluctuations that were slowly trying to calm down slowly. Maybe it has a mild temper, and the earth turtle did not take advantage of the situation. After severely injuring the Crystal Steel Snake, it stopped the offensive when it saw that it had no power to fight back. Okay, let's stop this battle. The deep voice of the earth turtle sounded again, speaking human language. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun thanked it. The earth turtle was very gentle and showed kindness. He naturally had a friendly attitude towards this kind of elves. You are still too young. I thought that the performance of Crystal Steel Snake was more than that. It seems that the first level of champion is not like other elves. the difficulty of fighting across levels increases exponentially. I'm afraid that it is impossible for me now. There are still some gaps between the champion after the amplification and the real champion in some aspects. Zhang Xingyun touched his face. He also learned this after this battle. Before the battle, Zhang Xingyun felt that the strength of Crystal Steel Snake after the amplification had reached the initial stage of champion. Not to mention that it could beat the middle stage. It could also survive dozens of rounds. At least it would not lose so badly. But the reality was still a little beyond his expectations. It is already rare for you to have such strength at this age. You are also one of the top people among you humans. And the child of Lizard King. If you can properly cultivate it, its future will go further than mine. The Earth Turtle said slowly. It might be because of Zhang Xingyun's supernatural power, or it might be because it saw too much, so it couldn't help but talk more. As for the challenge, in its eyes, the challenge is not a disrespectful thing. In the eyes of the elves, challenging the strong is also a courageous warrior, and will be admired. Of course, this must be an elf of the same race, or an elf with good character. The two-tailed turtle came in front of him, and Zhang Xingyun looked up. He was more than 10 meters tall, blocking out the sky and the sun, and his huge shadow covered him. He was not even as tall as one of its front feet in front of it. Fortunately, it had no ill intentions, otherwise it would be scared just by its size. Come back, Crystal Steelix. Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokeball and put Crystal Steelix back into the Pokeball. Today's battle was very rewarding, and luck was not bad. He encountered the mild-tempered two-tailed turtle. Even if he was defeated, he didn't have to flee in panic. Meepipi Goo after the elves in the distance found that the battle was over. They all surrounded the two-tailed turtle and shouted loudly. Zhang Xingyun could also hear the meaning of the words, which roughly expressed the meaning of praising the two-tailed turtle. Zhang Xingyun smiled. He did not feel ashamed to be defeated by the turtle. It was normal to fail when challenging a being stronger than himself. Woodcuckoo several elves came over and looked at him cautiously. Hello, little guys. Zhang Xingyun also smiled and reached out to touch them. Cuckoo a pigeon brought a fruit and put it in his hand, motioning him to taste it. Zhang Xingyun smiled and thanked him, then took it and ate it. I hope no one will disturb your peaceful and happy life. Zhang Xingyun squatted on the ground and looked at the elves in front of him. Chapter 768, Chatting in the Forest. In the cruel wild, these lively and lovely elves cannot survive. They have no soil to survive. If they can survive, they will no longer be what they are now. The cruel hunting environment will make them abandon their innocence and become bloodthirsty and fierce. Zhang Xingyun touched the head of the mole in front of him and handed it an energy block. He just sighed that the elf world is so big that he can't take care of it alone. Squeak squeak squeak. Other elves smelled the smell and gathered around, looking at him with eyes and gesturing with their claws. Here, for you. Zhang Xingyun took out some low-level energy blocks from the space, as well as a lot of elf food, and distributed them one by one. Elves have lived in the wild for a long time, and usually eat some tree fruits and so on. Where can they eat these elf foods made by humans according to the preferences of elves? After eating, many elves were intoxicated, as if they had eaten the most delicious thing in the world. Zhang Xingyun also took out a high-level energy cube, came to the two-tailed turtle, and used his supernatural power to put it into its mouth. Well, this tastes pretty good. Two-tailed turtle said after eating it. This is an energy cube. It is a kind of Pokémon food made by purifying the nutrients in the fruit and adding some other essences to compress and condense. Don't look at it as small. The energy contained in a small piece is more than the energy contained in 100 pieces of fruit. Zhang Xingyun explained with a smile. Human wisdom, this is also one of the reasons why Pokémon choose trainers. Two-tailed turtle nodded in agreement after listening. By the way, Two-tailed turtle senior, can you share some of your experience? As they chatted, Zhang Xingyun suddenly said, calling him senior. After all, this two-tailed turtle is really strong and can speak human language. It's nothing to call him senior. It's also good to get its insights. It can also be considered from the perspective of the Pokémon in order to better formulate a training plan. Experience. It's the experience of understanding energy. Yes. Zhang Xingyun answered, looking at it quietly. Experience. I don't know what it is, but I can talk about the tricks of mastering energy. As he spoke, the earth turtle took a step and walked towards the fruit forest. Zhang Xingyun hurried to catch up. The huge body of the earth turtle moved like a small mountain, very imposing. I prefer quietness. I usually find a fruit forest to rest and sleep, but there are many elves in the fruit forest, and there are naturally fights. After many fights, I have fought more and more, and I have become more and more proficient in fighting moves. Slowly, I can sense the energy between heaven and earth. One day I tried to contact them to see if I could use them. I didn't expect that I could really use them. After using them many times, I became more proficient. It's mainly because of proficiency. Then the earth turtle senior. Did your senior teach you? One person and one earth turtle, surrounded by a group of elves, walked and chatted. Zhang Xingyun also found that most of these elves were relatively weak. All of them were ordinary elite elves, and there were many types. Perhaps because of the existence of the two-tailed turtle, they did not have a survival crisis, and they were not so urgent for strength. Compared with other elves in the wild, their living conditions have been many times better. At least the weak ones can survive and have no worries about their lives. One person and the elves came to a fruit forest. There was a river in the distance. The terrain here was good. There was food and water, and there was a powerful two-tailed turtle here, just like a paradise in the wild. The fruit trees growing here are of high and low grades, which can also provide energy consumption for the two-tailed turtle. This place can also be called a place with birds singing and flowers blooming. This place is not bad. Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but say, well, I moved here because of this. The two-tailed turtle said, and came to a fruit tree that was not much smaller than its body, raised its head, and ate a few high-level fruit. Well, Zhang Xingyun responded softly, and many elves came to hear the reputation, surrounded him, and called out. Some of them were holding fruit in their hands, and handed them to him. I have no more elf food in my hand. Zhang Xingyun naturally knew the purpose of these elves coming. It should be the food he gave away. After the elves passed it on to other elves, the scene in front of him appeared. Pippi after hearing this, they were a little disappointed. Some of them still came over and handed him a fruit, asking him to taste it. But I can make you some fruit salad, which is also very delicious. Zhang Xingyun took the fruit with a smile and started to make it. Seeing this, other elves moved some fruit over and turned it into fruit salad under Zhang Xingyun's preparation. There are countless fruits here, and the preparation is not difficult. Soon, under Zhang Xingyun's preparation, the fruit salad was freshly baked. After the elves ate it, they were also very satisfied. Zhang Xingyun watched them eat and smiled. What a kind person. The earthenware turtle in the distance saw this scene and sighed. If you meet humans like me in the future, remember to be on guard. Goo goo woo. In short, not every human is bad, nor is it all good. They may hurt you. Zhang Xingyun said to the elves in front of him, his tone serious. The elves listened thoughtfully, but still nodded, indicating that they remembered. He didn't want them to trust humans too much and get hurt in the future because of the good impression he gave them. He can guarantee that he will not hurt them, but he can't guarantee others. After staying here for a long time, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye to the elves under the farewell of a group of elves. He was going home. Goodbye everyone. Remember not to trust strangers. Waving his hand, Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of the Pidgeot, and with a whoosh, he soared into the sky and flew away. On this day, he fought with the two-tailed turtle and gained a lot. I wonder if the two-tailed turtles will be arranged to go somewhere else. Hey, it seems that the location here is under the responsibility of Daewon City. Zhang Xingyun murmured. Under normal circumstances, champion level Pokémon are not allowed to live close to the city. Once a champion level Pokémon appears, the government will have to move it. The location of the two-tailed turtles is not too close to Daewon City, but not too far either. Maybe they will be arranged to go somewhere else. Pidgeot, let's fly to Daewon City. Zhang Xingyun said, planning to go to the Pokémon Center in Daewon City to find out the news and take better care of them if possible. He also knows the chief investigator of Daewon City, so it's okay to ask him for help. At this time, the phone in his pocket rang. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769. The company is attacked. Who would call me at this time? Zhang Xingyun muttered, reaching into his pocket. At this time, Zhang Xingyun was riding on Pidgeot's back and had already flown out of the forest, and he also had a signal. Chengzu, is it Brother Zhu who called me for something? Seeing that the caller was Chengzu, Zhang Xingyun was a little confused, but he still answered the phone. Hello. Oh no, Xingyun, at 1:10 p.m. today, our company was attacked by unknown people. Chengzu's hurried voice rang in the phone. What? Attacked by unknown people? What's going on? Zhang Xingyun was also surprised that these people were so bold that they dared to attack his company. At this time, Zhang Xingyun's brain was spinning wildly, wondering if he had offended someone. Is this revenge? That's it. That's it. Tell me slowly, don't worry, I'll rush back to Changning now. Zhang Xingyun looked at Pidgeot and said, Pidgeot, we won't go to Daoan City, let's go back to Changning directly. Pidgeot nodded, turned around, flapped his wings, and flew quickly towards Changning. At noon today, a team of unknown personnel suddenly attacked our company. They were very powerful. Most of them were elites, a few were quasi-kings, and there was also a king-level elf. Linji's security force was destroyed in the first place. Later, Nangang was present and suppressed it. Only 6 people were captured, and several others escaped in the chaos. Chengzu said breathlessly on the phone, his tone a little weak. Are you injured? Is it serious? Zhang Xingyun heard his weakness and asked with concern. I'm fine, but this time, including me, about 17 people in the company were injured, 8 of whom were seriously injured, and 9 were slightly injured. Fortunately, Nangang came and did not cause more serious consequences. Okay, I know, I'll rush over now. All the injured people in the company must be arranged. I'll be there soon. After saying a few more words, he hung up the phone. After hanging up, he found that there were several missed calls on his mobile phone, which were from Nangang Yao and others. After clicking a few times, he called back and chatted for a few words. After he knew about it, he hung up the phone. Whoosh, the wind whistled in his ears. At this time, Zhang Xingyun's heart was also very uneasy. It might be that the recent development was too smooth, which made him feel a little proud. I didn't expect that there are really people in this society who are not afraid of death. They dare to cause damage in Changning City. Their strength is not particularly strong. According to Chengzu, there is only one king elf among them. With such strength, they dare to attack in the city? Or do they want to disgust him? Or do they want to retaliate against him? At this moment, Zhang Xingyun thought a lot. After a while, Zhang Xingyun rushed to the company. When he arrived, although the original company site had been repaired, there were still traces of fighting. In an inconspicuous corner, there were still traces of blood. Xingyun, you are here. Nangang Yao and Zimengmeng came towards him. Well, are you two okay? Zhang Xingyun looked at the two and said with concern. It's okay. I'm fine too. With this strength, you can't hurt me. Nangang Yao and the other two replied. I opened a step late. If I had arrived earlier, maybe it would be okay. Nangang Yao came to him and whispered, with a tone of self-blame. It's okay. We don't know what their purpose is, or when they will attack. Besides, there is no reason to guard against thieves for 1,000 days. Zhang Xingyun comforted. I captured them and handed them over to Captain Lin who came. They are still with Captain Lin now. Captain Lin, is it Lin Jian's Han? Yes, it's him. Okay, then let's go and see if there is any result. Okay. Zhang Xingyun and the other two drove the car and quickly arrived at the prison. Along the way, many search officers greeted them. They followed him a few days ago and worked together once. Soon, Zhang Xingyun and the other two came to a dim interrogation room. When they walked in, they could faintly smell a smell of blood. Captain Xingyun, you are here. Lin Jian's Han saw him coming, put down the teacup in his hand, and motioned him to sit next to him. There was a layer of transparent glass in front of him, and there were special people inside, interrogating him. The interrogation methods were naturally cruel and bloody. For people like them Too gentle methods would not work well, and they often had to torture them to get more information. These 6 people are a criminal organization that teaches the wild wolf. They have been in the wild for many years, developing trainers with no criminal records, and using a series of methods to do things for them. There are many and diverse things to do, including ordinary things, murder, and robbery, and the attack on the company you founded this time. Lin Jianzhang said slowly, and then picked up the tea placed beside him and drank it. After the secret realm came, many criminal organizations also bred in the wild that the government had no time to take care of. These organizations are large and small. Large organizations like Team Rocket, small organizations like this one called Wild Wolf. Wild Wolf, have you found out their purpose? Zhang Xingyun asked. They were quite stubborn, but after I broke a few pieces of them, they became honest and confessed some things, but the truth is yet to be confirmed. What's the current news? Among the 6 people, this one is called Langda, whose real name is Enwu. This one is Langer and Lang Liu, and several of them took advantage of the chaos to escape and entered the city's underground waterway. A few were also caught and brought back, but a few still managed to escape successfully. According to their account, this time they received a very generous bonus. The mission required them to attack a new company that was unknown, and then escape through the underground passage. Someone would pick them up, so this scene happened. After listening, Zhang Xingyun did not speak, but showed a thoughtful look. In his memory, it was not involved with the criminal organization called Wild Wolf. The background of this matter was worth his deep thought. If you are not in a hurry, just sit here for a while and wait for the news of the new round of interrogation to come out. I will let them interrogate them separately. Who knows if there will be new discoveries later. Lin Jianzhang suggested, asking him to wait for a while. Okay, I'll wait a little longer. Zhang Xingyun responded and sat down beside him, waiting. I'll go for a walk outside. After saying that, Zi Mengmeng walked out. She was a little uncomfortable staying here, and she always felt that this place was very depressing, especially when she heard the screams. Chapter 770 Security Issues. Soon, a team member came out with the interrogation results and handed them to the 2 to read. That's right, they may have been fooled and didn't know that this company was founded by you. After reading the results, Lin Jianzhang said, their base has been explored, right? Zhang Xingyun asked. After the exploration, what do you want? Of course, destroy it. Let them know that I'm not easy to mess with. Zhang Xingyun's eyes flashed fiercely. If others offend him, don't blame him for being ruthless. A favor must be repaid, and so must a grudge. Captain, can you send some people out to go with me? Of course you can. It is also the duty of our investigators to crack down on such organizations, but I need to report it to Ling Suchap. Lin Jianzhang said seriously, and then issued a notice. Okay, then you report it. Soon, Lin Jianzhang reported it, and soon got the result of approval. Half an hour later, the 2 teams of investigators assembled and quickly rushed to the wild with Zhang Xingyun and others. Their base is also in the Yangtze Forest. The Yangtze Forest is very large, and it has become the base of many organizations. If the annihilation is not complete, perhaps after 1 or 2 years, when the strength and resources are sufficient, they will re-establish their base. While the wild can bring benefits, it also brings soil for the breeding of evil. As long as the benefits are high, many people with bad intentions will do so. More than 100 miles away from Changning City, there is a rocky area with sparse vegetation. The Pokémons living here are also some rock-type Pokémons, such as Geodude, Onyx, and so on. Boom boom, a deafening roar broke the tranquility here. Nido or Heibu Nidoking and Crystal Steelix exerted their strength together, and soon this place seemed to be plowed over and over again. After the bombardment, Lin Jianzhang and his men also took action and moved forward. Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of Pidgeot, releasing his mental power to detect the surrounding situation. Soon, Lin Jianzhang and his men came back, bringing with them a few people covered in dust. Gone. Gone. These few are still alive. Lin Jianzhang said. Investigator, are you mistaken? We didn't break the law. One of them cried out in injustice. How can you be here? How clean can you be? Tell me where the others are? It's impossible that there are only a few of you. Lin Jian's Han shouted. After interrogating them, they learned that several of their superiors had run away an hour ago for some reason. Where did they run to? No, I don't know. The men said in panic. Don't know? I advise you to tell the truth. Investigator, I really don't know. Don't know, right? Then don't blame me. As he said that, Lin Jian's Han gave a look to the team members next to him and signaled. After a while, the torture ended. They really didn't know. Xingyun is in some trouble. The clues are broken. Lin Jian's Han came in front of him and said, well, let's do it this way for now. Zhang Xingyun nodded. Okay. After packing up, the group returned to Changning City. Now he still has things to deal with. Zhang Xingyun came to the hospital to visit Chengzu and a group of injured company employees. When he came, Chengzu had already woken up, bandaged his wounds, and was sitting on the bed, looking at the computer. In the same ward were Linji and a few others. Linji's injuries were more serious than Chengzu's, and he was wrapped up like a mummy. He was the first to take the lead. After visiting, Zhang Xingyun sat down next to Chengzu. I have also dealt with this matter. Zhang Xingyun said slowly. What is their purpose? It's not clear yet. I only know that they received a generous reward and came to attack. They all came from a criminal organization called Wild Wolf, which is a relatively small organization. Then this. After hearing this, Chengzu frowned. As the old saying goes, there is only a thief who can steal for 1,000 days, but there is no such thing as a thief who can guard against thieves for 1,000 days. You want to talk about the security problem, right? Yes, that's the security problem. Chengzu nodded. This was exactly what he wanted to talk about. This attack also made her realize that the company's security capabilities were somewhat weak. Zhang Xingyun also realized this. At present, the security of their Uniao group is in charge of the elite Lin Ji, who is an elite trainer himself, and the other security personnel are also elite ordinary second level trainers. Under normal circumstances, this scale of security capabilities is enough, and Zhang Xingyun thought so before. But the reality is still beyond his expectations. The problem now is that ordinary security personnel are mostly elite trainers who come to work, and most of them have exhausted their potential and want to live a comfortable life. As for the quasi-kings, they can also join the government departments with this strength. The treatment is very good, which is also the choice of most trainers. But some people will look down on this treatment. In the eyes of some people, compared with killing and robbing, the benefits are incomparable, and some trainers with bad intentions choose this line. I'll find a way to deal with this, Zhang Xingyun said. He also knew that Chengzu had no way to deal with this at the moment. Just rest and recover. The company will give you the compensation you deserve. Just rest and recover. After comforting him, Zhang Xingyun left the hospital and returned to the company. In the company, Nangang Yao was sitting in the office, looking at the report. Click, the door was pushed open and Zhang Xingyun walked in from outside. You're back. How did the matter go? Nangang Yao looked up and asked when she saw him. Well, it's resolved. Zhang Xingyun replied, came to the chair in front of her and sat down, and then told her what happened in the middle. It was too smooth, so I was a little relaxed. Zhang Xingyun laughed. He thought that with his current strength and status, no one would come to provoke him. The security is still a little weak. Yeah, I think so too. After all, our company has equipment that can produce advanced energy blocks. According to this specification, we need a trainer with superpower to come to guard the scene, just to be safe. Superpower. There are only a few superpowers in Changning, so let's forget about it in our company. Zhang Xingyun laughed. I'm talking about the general situation. Yeah, you are right, but we don't have the conditions. During this period, I will let Metagross and Giant Mantis take turns to guard the company to ensure safety. Zhang Xingyun said. Yeah, this is also possible. Chapter 771. Thoughts on Tooth Turtle. Do I need to go home and seek some support? Nangang Yao said. No, I won't bother you. Anyway, I have a way to solve it. Zhang Xingyun smiled and shook his head and said. Oh, okay then. We need to call them to a meeting to give them a boost. Zhang Xingyun pondered, then notified all the employees in the company and came to the front of the building to hold a meeting. During the meeting, Zhang Xingyun also demonstrated his strength to increase their sense of security. In addition, with the influence brought by his champion status, their hearts, which were originally a little unstable, settled down. The meeting lasted for more than 2 hours before it was over, and the two returned to the office. Zhang Xingyun leaned back in his chair and pondered. He did know many people at the level of the king, but some of them would not condescend to come to his company and work for him. So what he had to build up now was the security power of the qua-seeking. We can give Lin Ji and the other two a batch of resources, and then give them guidance to break through the first level of the qua-seeking. Zhang Xingyun dragged his chin and thought. Among Lin Ji's Pokémon, the strongest one is a late elite fast puncher. His qualifications are not bad, and he has dark green qualifications. He is also very interested in the trainer industry, and his talent is not too bad. It is possible. However, Chengzu did not seem to be so interested during the training. We are short of people. If there is a suitable Pokémon to help us now, it would be possible. Zhang Xingyun said with emotion, but he was just thinking about it. Thinking about it, Zhang Xingyun thought of the huge body of the turtle. If it was there, its size alone would be very deterrent. Not to mention daring to attack. It is estimated that they would not even dare to think about it. Think too much. Although its personality is gentle, it may not agree to help. Besides, there are a lot of mountain Kara there. Can we move the company to the wild? No. As for bringing it here, it seems that it is not possible. There are so many Pokémon to protect, it will definitely not be willing, and I can't beat it myself. Zhang Xingyun's mind flashed one by one, but he quickly rejected them. As for asking Nangang Yao to go to her house to ask for help, he didn't want to do it even more. He felt uncomfortable even thinking about it. There were suitable people in his circle of friends, but they were either in important positions or still studying or students. Forget it. It's more reliable to help Lin Ji become a qua-seeking, and then think of a way later. After thinking about it, Zhang Xingyun still felt that this idea was more reliable, and secretly made a decision in his heart, which was to help Lin Ji become a qua-seeking trainer. While thinking about it, the mobile phone on the side suddenly rang. It's Uncle Ling. After taking a look, it was Uncle Ling calling, so he picked up the phone. Hello Uncle Ling. Well, Xingyun, how are you handling things? Ling Feng said directly. It's okay. Okay, I'm sorry this time that your company was attacked. Uncle Ling, you don't need to say sorry. There are too many places in a city that need to be taken care of. Zhang Xingyun said. Strictly speaking, it's not that the other party's search officer organization is slack, but that the other party is too cunning. There are so many trainers coming in and out of Changning City every day, and it is very troublesome to check them. Moreover, the other party is of ordinary status and has no criminal record, which makes it very difficult. Ordinary people dare not act recklessly in the city, and the city's flight ban is also based on this consideration. Some scoundrels have to be dealt with by themselves. After chatting with Ling Feng for a few more words, Zhang Xingyun hung up the phone. Hey, President Zhang, you should deal with these documents. Zi Mengmeng walked in with a stack of documents in her hand and placed them in front of him. Zi Mengmeng was very interested in Yunao Group. While wandering around here, she brought these documents over. Give it to Yao. Now she is in charge of this place. Zhang Xingyun pointed at Nangang Yao and said, TSK. Zi Mengmeng sighed and placed the documents in front of Nangang Yao. Speaking of this matter, how can I say it? Zi Mengmeng continued. The attack by this criminal organization is unknown. Their base has also been eliminated by me. It should be quiet for a while. Oh, by the way, it seems that Lan Yuzhen and his partner are coming to Changning City today. Boss and his partner? At this time, the phone in his hand vibrated again. He picked it up and saw that it was Lan Yuzhen who called. Is it Lan Yuzhen and his partner who called? It can't be such a coincidence. Zi Mengmeng said as she looked at his ringing phone. It's really a coincidence. It's Yuzhen who called. Zhang Xingyun clicked to answer the call, and Lan Yuzhen's voice came from the phone. Hello, Xingyun. I arrived at Changning Airport. Hey, aren't you surprised? A little bit. I'll go pick you up now. Okay. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Speak of the devil. I thought he would come in the evening. Zhang said softly. Do you want to come together? Forget it. I won't go. Xingyun, you can go. I won't go either. Nangang said as she looked at the documents. Okay, then I'll go by myself. I'll go home directly later. Okay, Meng and I will go back by ourselves. Zhang Xingyun walked out of the company and drove to Changning Airport. When he arrived, he saw Lan Yuchen wearing sunglasses and drinking milk tea with Kan Xiuming in the milk tea shop. He came out when he saw him coming. Ha ha ha, second brother, long time no see. Lan Yuchen opened his arms and walked towards him. Second brother, I heard that you founded a company. Don't forget your brothers when you become rich. It's okay, let's get in the car and talk in the car. Okay. Buzz. The engine made a low roar and the car started to move and merged into the traffic. It's really boring to stay at home these days. Second brother, do you have anything fun here? Lan Yuchen said excitedly in the car. Fun? I'm afraid there's nothing that suits your taste. Zhang Xingyun replied. TSK, that bitch Meng is also in Changning, right? Yes, weren't you two still arguing in the group? What's the matter? Do you want to have a real fight? I won't argue with her. Hey. The car drove into the villa and the three of them came to the hall and sat down. Where are the two of them? Lan Yuchen asked. He had been sitting here for a while, but he didn't see Nangang Yeo and the others, so he couldn't help but ask. Jaoa is at the company, she is accompanying her. It's getting late now, so she will be back soon. Oh, by the way, you went to her home in Nangang, Jinling before the new year. How was it? Lan Yuchen changed the subject and asked about this. Didn't I say it in the group? That's it. Chapter 772 Wild Manner Policy. Who is this? How dare they go to your company to cause trouble? Lan Yuchen exclaimed in the villa, because Zhang Xingyun talked about what happened in the past few days while chatting. The other party is a small criminal organization, and it is not yet clear who is dealing with me. Zhang Xingyun calmly picked up a cup of tea and drank it. That person is in the dark, and he is in the light, so it is useless even if he panics. Today, he put the giant gold monster and the giant claw mantis in the company, which can also ensure the safety of the company's property and personnel. Could it be that the company in the same city is dealing with you in secret? Lan Yuchen guessed. I don't know. The company I founded now has just got on the right track, and the business involved is relatively small. I can't figure out who will deal with me. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said. Forget it, let's not talk about this. When you two come here today, should we get something to eat ourselves, or go out for a meal? Zhang Xingyun changed the subject and said. If you want to eat, just eat at home. Lan Yuchen waved his hand and said indifferently. What about you, Xiuming? I don't care, anything is fine. Well, let's just eat at home tonight. I'll place an order and have them deliver the ingredients. Zhang Xingyun picked up his phone and placed many orders for ingredients on the app and had them delivered to the villa. There was a commotion outside and several female voices came. It was Nangang Yeo and Meng who came back. You're here. Nangang Yeo greeted them eagerly, sat down on the sofa, and started chatting. This winter vacation was a bit bad. On the first day I went home after the vacation, my parents asked me about my well-being, which made me flattered, but their care is getting less and less every day. Now I'm at home, and even breathing is wrong. Lan Yuchen said with a smile. I'm almost the same. Kan Xiuming next to him also said. While several people were eating delicious food in the villa, a team of search officers came to the territory of Tutegi outside Daewon City. The leader was a tall, sharp-eyed middle-aged man with many scars on his square face. There is a champion level 2 turtle ahead that has not been cleared, right? Yan Wenxuan said to his subordinates behind him. Yes, we have explored it these days. There is a champion level 2 turtle here, but it is relatively gentle by nature. After it discovered our people, it did not attack. The subordinates behind him reported one by one. What are the strengths of the elves living here? Yan Wenxuan asked again. Most of them are ordinary elite level 2. Under the care of this two-tay turtle, they are also relatively gentle by nature. The strongest is still the champion level 2-tay turtle. Our equipment can't detect it. It is estimated that it has the strength of more than mid-level champion. It's a problem that the equipment can't detect it. At present, I'm not a match. This place is not far from Daewon City and the planned new city. It must be solved. Zhang Xingyun looked at the direction of the two-tailed turtle and pondered. He is the chief search officer of Daewon City and a trainer with the strength of a Peking. He has led a team to explore the world recently and happened to explore here. Chief Yan, let's ask for support from above. We can't handle this champion level elf. Well, I'll report it to the higher-ups. I hope they can come as soon as possible. In addition, although this elf has a mild temper, we still need to be on guard. We may have to fight again, and there may be casualties. We can't rely on its mild character for safety. This is incompetent. Zhang Xingyun said seriously, and all the subordinates behind him nodded in agreement. In addition, there are many powerful elves here. In order to prevent the elves from rioting, our strength is not enough. We have to ask for help from other cities. The next day, Zhang Xingyun finished his practice, exhaled a breath of turbid air, moved his body, and heard crackling sounds. Just like before, wash, exercise, and eat breakfast. Not long after breakfast, Zhang Xingyun's phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Ling Feng calling, asking him to come over and say that he had something to discuss. Zhang Xingyun drove to the elf center and came to Ling Feng's office very familiarly. Uncle Ling, what do you want to discuss with me? Zhang Xingyun came to sit in front of Ling Feng and asked. The people in Daewon City reported to our city that they need a team to assist them. I wonder if you can lead the team. I have to be busy with the affairs of Xinchi these days and cannot get away. Ling Feng said that he felt more at ease with Zhang Xingyun leading the team. With him, even if they encounter a king level elf, there will be no major casualties. Okay. Zhang Xingyun agreed. There was nothing to do in the company now. Besides, with Nangang Yao and others there was no need to worry about attacks again. This time, he went to assist Daewon City and also talked about the resettlement of the Earth platform turtles. Originally, he was going to Daewon City, but he didn't expect to receive a call from Chengzu on the way and hurried back to Changning to deal with things. This is the planning and construction of Xinchi. Do you want to take a look? Ling Feng handed over a document and said, okay. Zhang Xingyun took the document and read it. Need trainers to build a manor? The policy this time is very generous, and the layout is even larger than before. The main city plus the manor, the area is twice that of our Changning. Zhang Xingyun saw the policy and layout above, and said with a smile, well, this is also what the above means. The original plan and policy are not like this, but unfortunately this large secret realm has come, which has increased a lot of land, so there is this policy, which can extend our human living area on a large scale and attract powerful trainers to live in the new city. Zhang Xingyun listened and nodded. It seems that the construction of the new city this time is not as conservative as when the Nanhei city was built before. This area is not far from the new city, and it is also in the planning. Zhang Xingyun said, while looking at the information on the file. The planning map above happened to have the location of the Tite turtle. Why do you look interested? Do you want to participate and become a manor owner? Ling Feng on the side joked. Hahaha, a little interested. Zhang Xingyun looked at the planning map above and pondered in his heart. That area has fertile soil and abundant fruits, with a lot of tree fruit resources. Also, the elves there are gentle by nature and are quite friendly to him, so it seems that this manor may be feasible. Chapter 773 Immature Thoughts. Then what are the conditions for applying for this manor? Zhang Xingyun looked at Ling Feng and asked. There are conditions. The minimum strength requirement is elite, and then a number of work points are required, and then it will be approved. For you, it is not difficult. It is not bad to be in industry. Ling Feng replied. Seeing that he looked interested, he knew that he was a little tempted. Well, then I will go and see it first. Well, but this manor needs you to develop it yourself. After you take over the place, report it to the government website and wait for approval. Okay. While chatting, Lin Jian's Hang and others also came to the office. This time, Ling Feng still asked them to do the mission. After all, they have cooperated several times. After a while of greeting, everyone set off and rushed to Daewon City. Zhang Xingyun notified Nangang Yao on the phone and asked her to entertain several people and take care of the company's affairs. He and Lin Jianhan went to assist. At noon, Zhang Xingyun and others came to a place in the wild of Daewon City and met Yan Wengsuan and others. Hello, Chief Yan. Haha, hello, hello. I didn't expect it was Grand Champion Zhang who led the team. Yan Wengsuan said politely. Haha, there aren't many things to do these days, so I came to help. And by the way, I participated in the construction of the new city and bought some industries. It's the manor policy, right? Yan Wengsuan also knew this policy and said immediately, yes. When Zhang Xingyun was still an investigator, they had some intersections because of some matters, so they knew each other. After a few greetings, they set off together and flew in one direction. This time, it's because there are 6 or 7 king level elves and a champion level earth turtle in the place we have to clean up today. We are afraid of causing an elf riot. We don't have enough people in Daewon City and can't handle it, so we can only ask for help. Yan Wengsuan said slowly on the elf's back. What? A champion level earth turtle? Is the earth turtle huge? Apart from it, are the elves in that area generally weaker? When Zhang Xingyun heard the champion earth turtle's words, he immediately thought of the earth turtle and asked. Yes, how do you know so much? Yan Wengsuan was surprised. He didn't expect him to know all this. It's a gentle elf. I challenged it and received its guidance. Really? At this time, inside the forest, in a lush and aquatic place, there were 3 powerful elves who were confronting each other, and the surroundings were in a mess. The 3 of them, one was a huge earth turtle, and the other 2 were ferocious looking bankeras. The 2 bankeras, which were 4 meters tall, looked very small in front of the earth turtle, but the terrifying aura they exuded did not seem small. The elves around were trembling and hiding behind the earth turtle. Behind the 2 bankeras, Pei Yangxing was standing on a fierce land shark, looking at the earth turtle with a pair of tiger eyes. It has been more than a year since I left the central government and came to garrison in South Vietnam. This time, I received a report from Daewon City and came here to accept the matter of dealing with the earth turtle. Tootie turtle, this place is no longer suitable for you. Come with me. We will provide you with a good environment. Pei Yangxing said lightly. Raw, if you want to leave, you have to take these children with you. The Tootie turtle roared and then spoke in human language. The 2 sides had communicated once before, but it was not satisfactory, and they exchanged a few moves. Pei Yangxing asked the Tootie turtle to evacuate here, and the Tootie turtle agreed, after seeing the situation clearly, but the requirement was to take the elves here. Pei Yangxing looked at the hundreds of elves here, and found it difficult to resettle them, so he refused. In his opinion, generally only champion level elves would be resettled. There were so many elves, and their strength was not high, so there was no need to resettle them. Ban the 2 bangelas in front of Pei Yangxing roared, and there was a rustling sound on the side. A huge sandstorm was accumulating power, ready to launch a thunderous attack. The trees on the Tootie turtle's back lit up with dazzling green light, and the green grass on the ground broke out of the ground, lush and green, suppressing the sandstorm that was about to dance. In this tense situation, a super Pidgeot ran quickly and arrived at the scene soon. Fortunately, I made it in time. After Zhang Xingyun arrived at the scene, he saw this scene and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It was good that there was no real fight. In his heart, he didn't want to fight. Senior Pei, Zhang Xingyun came to Pei Yangxing and said, well, you can just watch the battle and see the battle of the champion realm. Pei Yangxing nodded and said, he also knew about Zhang Xingyun. He had heard about him and Pei Chenjun going to Xinjiang before, and he also had a friendship with the Pei family. Wait, don't fight first. Is there a misunderstanding? I don't think that Tootie turtle is a vicious elf. It won't be that bad. Zhang Xingyun continued. To be honest, I was taken care of by Tootie turtle. At the end, he added a sentence. In that case, you can talk to it. If possible, I don't want to use force. Pei Yangxing nodded and heard him say this, so he let him try. Okay, I'll go talk to it. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun came to the Tootie turtle. Are you here to deal with me too? The Tootie turtle said loudly, with a disappointed tone. As for Zhang Xingyun, It thought he was a good person, kind, and sincere to the elves. Misunderstanding. I think this may be a misunderstanding, and I'm not here to deal with you, Zhang Xingyun explained. I'm willing to evacuate here, but the requirement is to take them with me. If I'm gone, most of these children are afraid that they will not survive. The two-tailed turtle looked at the elves behind him and said in a deep voice, with it, they can live a peaceful, harmonious, and happy life. Once it is gone, with their personalities, they will not live long in this cruel wilderness, and 9 out of 10 will die in the wild. Can you let me stay here? I can promise that I will not leave here, nor will I hurt you humans without reason. The two-tailed turtle said again, looking at the two Bangiris and the flying Garchomp in the sky. It also knew that it would not be a match for the three. The two Bangiris were enough for it to drink a pot, not to mention the Garchomp. Stay here? Zhang Xingyun seemed to have thought of something, and an idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Although this idea is a bit immature, it can still be tried. If it works, another security problem in his mind can also be solved. This idea is to let the two-tailed turtle stay here. Chapter 774, The Fate of the Two-tailed Turtle. The idea is to turn this place into his own manor, so that he can protect these elves. At least in this area, it will not be as bloody and cruel as in the wild. The fruit resources here are rich. If we add human fruit planting technology, the fruit resources here will definitely be more abundant. If the company he founded moves here, then it will be self-sufficient in terms of fruit, which can save a lot of costs. And the energy cubes produced can also be distributed to the elves here. Eating energy cubes is better than simply eating fruit. Moreover, if he can leave the earth turtle and let it guard the manor here, with it guarding here in the middle stage of the champion, wouldn't the security problem be solved? However, these ideas are just ideas after all. Now there is another important problem in front of us, which is how to leave this earth turtle. I think I can try it. Even if I fail, I can ensure that they can continue to live safely here. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xingyun said. Hearing this, the earth turtle opened his eyes and was very confused. I will take over here. Even if you leave, I can do my best to maintain them. Seeing that it was a little confused, Zhang Xingyun explained. He was not sure whether he could keep the turtle here. That's good. These children will be safer. Senior two-tailed turtle, if you can stay, the price is to become my nominal elf. Are you willing? At that time, it is a nominal elf. Zhang Xingyun said softly. Nominal elf? Hearing this, the turtle was entangled. It's just nominal. Besides, I can't command you. Okay, but I will only stay here. At most, I will guard this place. I won't run around with you. In terms of fighting, I won't take action, unless it is necessary. Okay, that's enough. If I set up a manor here in the future, I will trouble you to take care of it. As if sensing his sincerity, the turtle also took the initiative to unload its strength and no longer maintained a fighting state, making the atmosphere on the field less tense. Seeing that the turtle believed in himself so much, Zhang Xingyun's heart was also touched. Then he came to Pei Yangxing. Well, did the two-tailed turtle agree? Pei Yangxing said slowly. Well, Senior Pei, I have a request. Zhang Xingyun did not answer, but stated his request. Oh. What do you want? Seeing this, Pei Yangxing was also a little confused, not knowing what he wanted to ask of him, especially in this environment. Just keep the two-tailed turtle here. Zhang Xingyun said directly. Leave it here? Not appropriate. Leaving a champion Pokémon here, and not far from the city, is a very big safety hazard. Not possible. Pei Yangxing heard this, shook his head and refused. Senior, let me explain. Then Zhang Xingyun picked up a luxury ball and threw it to the two-tailed turtle. The two-tailed turtle turned into red light and entered the Pokeball. Dang, the Pokeball made a dang sound, indicating that it was successfully captured. Senior Pei, now it's my Pokémon, so there's no need to worry about its safety. You. Pei Yangxing frowned, thinking that this approach was a bit inappropriate. I also have champion combat power in my hands, so you can rest assured about the safety issues. Zhang Xingyun continued, and then released the crystal Steelix to show it off, and then let Nidoking appear and release its peak power. Awesome, awesome. At such a young age there is a champion level Pokémon. After seeing the strength displayed by Zhang Xingyun, Pei Yangxing couldn't help but sigh. Forget it, since the Tite Turtle has become your Pokémon, I don't want to say anything more. Thank you, senior. No need, you can subdue it, it's also your ability, so the next new city is to build it, you should also contribute. Pei Yangxing said to him, after taking back the two Banjulus. No problem, I will do my best. Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile. He plans to build his own manor here, so the sooner the new city is built, the better it will be for him. After the two chatted for a while, Pei Yangxing rode on the Libite land shark and flew away. As the champion guarding a province, he naturally had a lot of things to do. It's a perfect solution. Looking at its back as it went away, Zhang Xingyun breathed a sigh of relief. This result was the best result in his opinion. Originally, he was a Tite Turtle that couldn't be kept, but in the end he was kept. He took out the Pokeball containing the Tite Turtle and threw it out. A red light flashed, and the huge body of the Tite Turtle appeared on the field. Seeing this, the elves on the side gathered around and chattered. Zhang Xingyun also took out his mobile phone and applied for this area on the government website. It was quickly responded and was under review. As for the review method, the relevant departments will send personnel to verify it. The place he applied for was about the size of a small town, with this place as the center and expanding in all directions. Okay, you stay here first. There may be some changes in the future, but it will make your life better. Zhang Xingyun said to the Tite Turtle and other elves. If his ideas are put into action, perhaps their lives will be better. Afterwards, Zhang Xingyun gave a few instructions, rode on Pidgeot, and flew in the direction of Linjian's Hang and others. The matter of Tite Turtle came to a brief end. Boom, when Zhang Xingyun arrived, Yan Wengxuan and others had already started the operation, which was in full swing. A large number of elves, under the deliberate arrangement of their group, migrated to a farther place, with smoke and dust billowing, and the scene was very spectacular. Of course, during this migration, it was not so smooth, and there would be battles. Hoku, when they arrived, they saw that Tyrannosaurus had solved a king elf neatly, and not far from it, Linjian's Hang and others were safe. Before, when Zhang Xingyun left, he left Tyrannosaurus and Charizard behind, and went to Tite Turtle himself. I'm here, is everything going well? Zhang Xingyun jumped to the ground, and asked Linjian's Hang and others. It went smoothly. Those few tough problems were solved. The other Pokémons are easy to deal with. Thanks to you for leaving Charizard and the other two behind, otherwise we might have suffered casualties. Linjian's Hang thanked him. Yes. Zhang Xingyun joined Linjian's Hang and the others in the expulsion procession. After some effort, the Pokémons in this area were expelled. Zhang Xingyun also received several Pokéballs, including one containing a king-level Pokémon. Chapter 775. The manor is settled. The elves in these elf balls were all harvested by Tyranitar and the others during this period. Linjian's Hang and the others helped collect them and returned them to him when he came. Hahaha, thank you very much. There are 2 more places next. As long as we deal with those 2 places, today's work is done. Let's take a break and continue our action. Yan Wengxuan walked over and said with a smile. Okay. Zhang Xingyun and the others responded. Okay. After Yan Wengxuan finished speaking, he went to other places. There was a team from the neighboring city that came to support. When the elves rioted, Yan Wengxuan, who was at the peak of the world, had no way to resist the huge number of elves. The power of Daewon City was too sufficient, so he could only ask for reinforcement from nearby cities. Puff puff, taking advantage of the rest time, everyone also sprayed medicine on their elves to treat the injuries left just now. You two are not injured. Zhang Xingyun looked at Charizard and Tyranitar and said, and the 2 elves shook their heads when they heard it. After a long rest, Zhang Xingyun and his team started moving again and came to a new place. After getting the arrangement, Zhang Xingyun and Linjian's Hang were responsible for a location, which was also a node, mainly to control the direction of the expulsion. Boom, after a while, the ground shook violently, and dust flew in the distance. Many elves were driven here. Zhang Xingyun rode on the violent flying dragon, roaring continuously, exuding the power of a panic dragon, and Pidgeot and others also showed the pressure of the king. Under many deterrents, the elves below ran according to the route planned by several people. After a few hours, with the efforts of everyone, this migration was completed without any danger. After that, the old plan was repeated, and the third elf migration was completed. After completion, it was already afternoon. Everyone take a break, and then the 331 team will patrol again. Yan Wengxun informed again. Expulsion is a large-scale action, and it is inevitable that some will be left behind. We are plundering their living place. Zhang Xingyun looked at the mess in front of him and said softly, yes, but there is no other way. If a secret realm descends on a certain place, that place must be evacuated. This is also robbing our human survival place. If we don't ask for land from the wild, where else can we ask for land? Lin Jian's Hang beside him answered. What's wrong? Do you think this is wrong? No, I don't think this is wrong. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. This is just a little different from the elf world I originally thought of. Hey, imagination is always imagination. While talking, Zhang Xingyun received a notice from the auditor, talked to Yan Wengxun, and came to the area of the Earth platform turtle. When he arrived, there were already 2 men in formal suits waiting. You are Zhang Xingyun, Zhang Guanjun, right? Hello, I'm Shan Heo, one of the auditors this time. I'm Li Yun, also an auditor this time. Hello, I'm Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun stepped forward and shook hands with the two. I'm sorry, Zhang Guanjun, although we also believe that you have the ability, you still have to go through the process. Shan Heo said. It's okay, I have also dealt with the elves here. Zhang Xingyun replied. Okay. Shan Heo and the other 2 immediately patrolled the area he applied for. Their duties were also to prevent some false reports or other things. I have already subdued the 2-tay turtle, and the elves here are also relatively friendly. Zhang Xingyun said to the 2. Well, that's fine. Well, there is no problem here either. The most powerful elf here was also subdued by him, and the hidden dangers in the area were also cleared, and it also met the conditions for building a manor, so the 2 passed the review. So far, this area is under the name of Zhang Xingyun, and he is used to build a manor. After seeing the 2 people off, Zhang Xingyun looked at the area in front of him, and felt very happy. This will be his manor in the future. From the planning map, although this place is in the suburbs of Xinxi and adjacent to the wild, this is not a big problem. Zhang Xingyun is confident that there will be no problems in terms of safety. Maybe I can create a place like Professor Oak. Zhang Xingyun thought of Professor Oak's home in the anime. In the anime, the place where Professor Oak lives is really big. There are so many elves living there. Xiao's Kintaro can run around in it. That place must not be small. Hahaha, I don't know what to call this place. Mole Manor? Or should it be called Pallet Town? Forget it, I'll go back and tell Yaoa. He was a little excited. This place will be his territory in the future. After that, Zhang Xingyun went to Yan Wengxun again, to help them patrol the forest, and deal with the few elves that were left behind. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun and Lin Jian's Hang and others rushed back to Changning. When he returned to the villa, the food was ready and waiting for him. Xingyun is back, let's eat. Lan Yuchen saw Zhang Xingyun coming in and said loudly, you are just like this, eating all the time, and eating a lot at one meal. Zimeng rolled her eyes at him and said, people are made of iron and rice is made of steel, don't you understand? Here you are. Did things go well today? Nangang Yeo walked out of the kitchen and asked. It went smoothly. Zhang Xingyun smiled and went to the dining hall with everyone. Nidoking and other elves also came out of the elf balls, walked to their respective places, and ate with several elves. Today in the wild, I applied for a manor. There are many tree fruits there. I can be self-sufficient in this regard in the future. During the meal, Zhang Xingyun talked about the manor today. What? What manor? Xingyun, what did you do today? Hearing this, Lan Yuchen said. You can check the manor policy on the government website. I went to Daewon City to assist today and also took down a manor by the way. As he said, he swiped a few times on his mobile phone and sent the link in the manor to the group. Oh, second brother, you are not righteous. You didn't even call me. I wanted to. After reading it, Lan Yuchen shouted. No, there are requirements for this, such as household registration. Zhang Xingyun explained that there are also requirements in this regard. This place is also quite good, with mountains and rivers and rich resources. Nangang Yeo nodded after reading it. Hey, not only that, there is also a champion level turtle there, a different species of turtle, more than 10 meters tall. What? A turtle more than 10 meters tall? Yes. Then you solved it, otherwise you can't take that place. Yes, it was solved, but it was solved by me. Zhang Xingyun said lightly. Pooh, cough cough. What did you say? Solved by you? Lan Yachan opened his eyes and said loudly. Yes, I solved it, and you can say it was tamed. Now it can be considered my elf. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.